S-D-P, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
That's a nice cake you got there, Steven.
Is it?
Yeah. Now,
It's aged great.
Steve called me on the way down. Jesse, do you mind just turning down my headphones a little bit, my friend? I don't know why.
Why?
Very loud. It's very loud.
Oh.
Steve's ear cracking.
Are these? Or no, that's not you. That one's you.
That's me. Oh, that's better. Thank you.
What if I just
Lovely.
turn
Oh,
it
yeah,
off?
that. Now I can't hear anything at all.
What if I do
Even though you
that?
guys are right beside me. Oh, it's pretty loud.
Imagine not being able to see or hear something right next to you.
Steve called me
Wes!
on his way down, and he's like, I'm going to have to get remad. And I
gotta
have,
get remad.
and I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? He's like, oh, it'll take me like 2 minutes. And because you're having a good morning, aren't you?
I'm having a great morning.
Yeah.
So I was literally like sweating, like dripping down my back, neck, everything after the LFR. Like it's a workout. And I'm going to bed. It's 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And I get a text from my brother-in-law that the baby arrived.
Hey,
I'm an uncle.
Happy, healthy?
Happy, healthy.
Great. That's congratulations.
I have
You're
a
an
niece.
uncle.
Uncle Steve.
You're a girl uncle.
Is that a thing?
There's the girl dad thing. You're a girl uncle.
Oh, is it a girl?
It is a girl.
Oh, nice.
It's
I don't know the name. Sorry,
Lily.
Lily.
Oh, that's a great
That
name.
is a fantastic name.
I fucking love Lily.
Yeah,
that
that's
was one of
great.
the names I wanted for Everly.
I mean legally Lillian, but I think it'll be Lily.
That's a great name.
Lily is Lillian the. I thought Lily was a name.
It is.
It is.
Because you're naming after a flower, but Lillian is also it.
Lillian is awful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So like
I think
instantly,
somebody named their kid Tiger Lily. One celebrity who
Tiger
named
Lily.
their kid.
Isn't that a
Tiger
Disney character?
Lily. Hang on.
I don't know.
Michael Hutchins and Paula Yates. The guy. So Michael Hutchins was the.
Like the goalie.
No, Michael.
I'm so broken. I thought the goalie.
Yeah.
No,
I
no.
thought
What
the
are you
goalie.
talking about?
The very famous Australian leader, singer of In Excess.
Oh.
And Paula Yates was an enormous celebrity in the 80s who I don't expect you guys to know, but she was the top video DJ on MTV.
I have heard of that name.
Okay, well, there
believe
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's I knew there was something. Now,
Catches right-handed.
now Steve.
So
Glad we got that in there.
I
Yeah,
was
me too.
instantly.
Me too.
I was instantly unmad, and I woke up this morning still happy, and I was like, "Oh no, I gotta get re-mad."
I can get you remad
Oh, okay, do it.
because I made it my goal when I got to work after I talked to Steve. I'm like, how do I make him mad?
All right.
How do I make him re-mad? Joshua,
About what?
About what happened last night.
Oh, did that?
About
What happened?
The Timothy Lilligren, Brad Marchand incident.
Yes.
Joshua Clokey. You might know him as guy who writes for The Athletic, which is, I don't know, some kind of accomplishment or something.
Yeah, it's an outlet.
Timothy Lilligren was expecting dozens of family and friends to watch him play in the NHL for the first time this month in Sweden. After last night, that seems unlikely.
Well, hopefully he packs a nice suit. I'm sure it'll mean just as much to him from the press box.
That sucks.
That
I assume you
sucks.
don't fly with that injury. Like you just stay.
No, he's probably going to stay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he's probably
Yeah,
not
you
going.
stay home. You
stay home and
yeah.
rehab.
When you're injured, you don't travel on the road.
Yeah.
You travel on the road if you're
he's not
if
going.
you're gonna play now
Okay, now I'm re.
Unless
Now
they
I'm
can
re-mad.
unless they can find facilities for him to do the things that he's going to need to do.
No. I
home
mean,
in rehab. Yeah.
they didn't say what the injury was. But
Looked like a high ankle, didn't it?
the second he made contact with the boards, I'm like, that's high ankle. So I assume
That's a high ankle sprain, by the way, for anybody wondering.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember other high ankle sprains from the NHL. I'm guessing he could be back within 1 to 2 months.
Isn't that what Morgan Riley had like last year or the year before, and he wasn't playing well until the playoffs?
Yeah, but there's degrees of it, and obviously you can play through it poorly.
Unless you're Leon Draisaitl. Excuse
Unless
me.
you're Leon Draisaitl.
no.
Not associate the word playing poorly with that man.
You can just be a friggin' turret, like a stationary, don't move and put up 4 points a game turret. No, but like I assume it's a 1 to 2 month until he can get back to playing games again, but it's probably going to be like a year until he's where he needs to be. This is a guy who has a somewhat insecure spot in the lineup. He's on a $1.4 million contract. This injury is going to cost him money down the road. It's going to cost him money for the rest of his life. And I'm glad to know that it happened during just an ordinary puck battle that he just lost, right?
I don't know how
You know those puck battles that you lose when you put the fucking stick between your legs? Is everyone on crazy pills? I hate being gaslit by the entire goddamn internet. What, Adam? What?
Just before,
What?
I don't want to interrupt the train that we're on, but Maddie, can you ISO Steve, please? What's up with your poppy? It's suction
what
cup
the
to you.
It flips.
How did that happen?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I saw it.
How did that happen?
It was like,
Yeah,
right
it was
to your
like
body.
it looked like a nipple.
So
I've never seen that happen to a poppy. Of all the things I've ever seen happen to a poppy, not that.
Now I know the kettle's boiling a little bit here, but don't get into it yet. Let's take this as it comes.
How are you
Because
already calming me down? I
think
came in
it's-
here happy.
I think it's important. I think it's important that we talk about the game in context. And as he usually does, Acting the Foolman has such a beautiful way to encapsulate all this before we get into it. He writes, every fucking time the Leafs sign a tough guy, I hear how now the other team won't take liberties. Every time something like this happens. I'd have liked Ryan Reeves to hit Marchand into the moon, but I don't really blame him. You aren't going to intimidate NHL level rats.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is Marchand, the beauty of him is he's never intimidated.
You do have to give Marchand the fact that he's never intimidated. You know, whether it's on the ice or from a young journalist with like a couple thousand followers. You know, he won't back down from any opponent. What a fucking tough guy. But like, this is the thing. This is why we keep talking about action and like hitting and face washing and getting into fights and stuff, because intimidation doesn't work. And, you know, as much as I'm giving it to Brad Marchand right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs are...
Stop.
What?
Stop.
Why?
Because we're not there yet. We're not there yet in our story. We have not reached the climax of our story. There is many roads to trod. This is going to be J.R.R. Tolkien-esque. We're going to spend the first 100 pages in the Shire.
Fuck did
sir.
you call him?
J.R.R. Tolkien-esque. This is the way we're going to tell the story.
Tolkien?
Tolkien.
He's not.
Isn't it Tolkien?
Right.
Whatever.
Like-
Whatever. I read his stupid books.
Like the
They're long.
South Park character.
Yeah.
Tolkien. Tolkien.
Yeah. Of course it's Token. What did you think?
I thought the L was louder. Thought it was a louder L. I did.
Adam doesn't know
I
that
did.
I'm
I
doing
straight
the
up.
bit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't know that one.
My bad.
So here's the thing with the Boston Bruins. You can have team toughness and skill. The Leafs and their fans, and I think because of the Brian Burke era, we looked at things this way, have forgotten that you can have both within the same player. Like, we grew up with teams that were super tough but had skilled players.
Yep.
Doug Gilmour was tough. Wendell Clark was tough.
Built for the era.
Built for the era. Yeah. And Darcy Tucker, tough, but would still put 25 goals in the net. And so Gary Roberts, 100-point scorer, tough as fucking nails, still scary.
Absolutely.
If you see him in person anytime, he's a scary man.
He's-
But I look at the Boston Bruins before this game. Who beat them last year? Who beat them?
Oh, the Florida Panthers. Who beat the Leafs?
And the Florida Panthers have what?
Toughness.
Team toughness.
Team toughness. The Florida Panthers really played they can't call it all hockey to perfection, to the point where they got the Boston Bruins to choke on a
and also make a bad
gobstopper,
call in
basically.
net. Let's be honest. They should have put Swayman in.
That's
So, and I want to talk about what Leaf games are to Boston, because I think there's a lot of people from the outside looking in going, like, fuck, it's fucking November, guys. Are you kidding me? And I think that you need to understand where the Leafs and Boston are at. With respect to Montreal and Ottawa, the Leafs' main rival for the last decade and a half has been the Boston Bruins, and Boston wins every time. So I'm not sure Boston sees this as a rivalry so much as it's dominated us. And, you know, we win some regular season games, so we feel good about ourselves, but let's be honest.
fart.
So when you play a team like Boston, much like what they had to face with LA, you're playing a team that is now 9-0-1. It's the best start they've ever had in their entire history.
Absolutely hysterical.
And you're getting up for this game because it's what? It's a test.
It's important.
It's a test.
They fail.
Because Boston, you can play Minnesota, you can play some other teams, whatever. Boston's going to show you where your weaknesses are. And they did show them. Now,
Everywhere.
Credit where it's due. Let's start at the start of the game. This is Sergei
See, he didn't make it all the way through the name. Does that count?
Yeah, it still counts.
Oh yeah. No. He said it.
It's
2.
I'm just gonna call him Sammy.
We were at
it's
2.
Sammy's best start of the year.
By a country mile.
He looked great against the tough
really
opponent. I don't think any of the goals you could even say are like his fault. They're just goals that go in.
I didn't love the first one because I think, yes, the Klingberg defense in front of him was poor, but I think a prerequisite for a goalie is you be in the net.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair.
And I saw people harping on him because the other one was rebound, right? And he deflects the rebound, but I'm like,
Clear the rebound.
You got to have guys in front of clearing the rebound, and I didn't hate where he deflected the rebound.
Jesse, how are the Leafs in front of the net in their own end?
Not great.
Not great, Bob.
Jim.
Yeah.
Bottom
Jeffrey?
10 in the league.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give that credit because I thought he was good. Now, this is a bit of a wrestling match, a bit of a standoff until the dreaded 2 minutes left in the first period. And 2 minutes left in any period, letting a team score really sucks because you go into the dressing room feeling like shit, and that is what that's what the Leafs
playing
did.
with 5D again for the third time.
What do you mean?
Well, because Liljegren was hurt.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. So when do we get to do that?
Do you want me to start that first?
Well, are you going in chronological order or are you not?
I wasn't going full chronological because I'm trying to build.
On
a build.
Nah,
but
keep building.
But so this is, and I think it's important that we do it this way only for one reason.
Mm-hmm.
The Liljegren incident happened. The 2 minutes left, goal goes in. Leafs go into the dressing room. And the reason I brought it up first is you go into the dressing room feeling like shit after you've let a goal in just before you went into the dressing room. You know your coach is going to tear you a new a-hole, right? Okay?
Sure.
But also, the Leafs then have this Timothy Liljegren thing, which we're going to get to. So you're not only pissed at yourself, but you're pissed, and you should be pissed enough that you want to tear the other team's face off. So what happens at the beginning of the second period? They let in a goal within the first 2 minutes, and they came out flat. So let's talk about Timothy Liljegren and why perhaps this morning the average Toronto fan, some of them, are questioning not just the team toughness, but the team care. Because let's look at the incident, let's look at Wes McCauley, but I think a lot of people are concerned about what the reaction from the Toronto Maple Leafs was. Jesse, I just sent you a tweet from Tic Tac Tomar with the penalty. We're going to have to, the non-call, excuse me. And I've got a couple of angles here. The first one is obviously you can see the numbers of Liljegren and Marchand, and we're going to have to screen grab this as we go in. But you can see from behind exactly what happened. This isn't the shot along the boards. This is the shot of the two of them going into the most dangerous part of the ice, as Sheldon Keefe says. And this is them and the can opener that got Steve so heated. But only Steve. Only you, Steve.
Only me.
Because you're the irrational one, Steve.
I am. Oh, man. Bruins fans came after me so hard with their 4 chirps.
Which was what?
Bruins fans are not representative of all Boston sports fans.
Okay. Now let's
bottom 5 chirpers in the league.
They win all the time. They don't need to chirp. So here's Marchand. Where's his stick?
Between Liljegren's fucking legs, and the blade is at his fucking skate, and his skate is at Liljegren's fucking skate, and both of Liljegren's feet come off the ground.
Jesse, can you scroll forward just a little bit? Because we want to see what happens with Liljegren's left foot. What happens, guys, as we keep moving forward throughout this? It seems to
It gets swept out from underneath him while being cradled by Marchand's stick. And as Justin Bourne delightfully, beautifully put it on the broadcast yesterday, whoopsies seem to follow Brad Marchand.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, Liljegren's already on one skate, and it's not his fault that he's on one skate because that one skate was taken out by Marchand's stick. What's going to happen to the other skate, guys?
So, Jesse, let's scroll forward just a little bit further here if we can.
Okay.
And see what happens to the skates as they now look at that.
This fucking bullshit.
So his left foot is beside the 3. His right foot is over near Marchand. Look at the extension. That's an intense landing.
One thing I'm trying to do a better job at is I am not wasting my time arguing about what is and isn't reality. I'm not wasting my time arguing. This is a trip. This is a trip. And if you don't think it's a trip, you're not welcome to the conversation. That's what it is. Oh, Steve, you're not. Sorry, it's in the interest of time management. Fuck off. In the interest of time management, you're wrong. Let's move on. and talk about how to deal with this. It's a trip.
Because there are some people who I think are confused by just the definition of how tripping is called. Because an accidental tripping is still tripping.
Yes.
Or battling for a puck and a stick gets stuck between a guy's legs. It's still tripping.
Why is that? Why is that, Jesse?
That's just how the rule of tripping is.
Because you're
is
responsible
written
for your stick.
Yes.
in the rule book. Because you're responsible for your hockey stick, and if it's an accidental tripping, it is still tripping, no matter what is taking place in battling on the ice.
If I
Every
accidentally
time.
slap Steve, if we're cuddling like we did in Nashville that one time that we went for the Stanley Cup Finals, we had to share a bed, and Steve was snoring, and I turn over and my arm slaps him in the face. I didn't mean to, but I did still slap him. Right?
Yeah.
That happened.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
He's a good spoon.
Every time this sort of thing happens with the Boston Bruins, the conversation starts at, so in the late 1800s, they invented hockey. It has origins in bandy and holy fuck, it's a trip. Cry about it. You fucking cry about it. You don't understand what tripping is. Jesus Christ.
Well, I think
Trip.
anybody arguing that is just trying to get under your skin, and it's working.
It worked.
Now, I think anybody in their right mind is going to say that's a trip, but I think fans, because we are not rational, and that's okay,
That's fine.
are going to defend their guy. Now, the main thing for me, and I think the main thing and the reason for the cake, Jesse, the next tweet from Omar that we have, Wes McCauley and Sheldon Keefe have a conversation at the beginning of the second period. And in that conversation, Sheldon goes, Wes, what the hell was that? Essentially, if you're lip reading. And Wes goes, I didn't see it, at least according to what Keefe said after the game. So let's have a look to see if Wes had two eyeballs on it. That is Wes McCauley. And by the way, if you watch the whole thing, go check out Tic Tac Toe
He's
Mark
looking the whole time.
the entire time.
Let me not mince words. Wes McCauley fucking sucks at his job. Let me be perfectly plain. This is a terrible ref who endangers players every time he laces skates. Liljegren's career is going to be affected forever because of this.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the first time. Like, listen, players adjust their game to the game they know they're about to have. They adjust their game to, we're playing the Leafs tonight. We're playing the Lightning tonight. We're playing the Minnesota Wild tonight. They also adjust their game to, here's who's calling the game. And we know what percentage of their calls go against the home team. Mm-hmm. We know this, scoutingtherefs.com keeps these stats. We know what percentage of their calls are in the first period, are in the second period, are in the third period. Then they get into a little bit more micro stuff that I don't think is available publicly. Their likelihood to call stick infractions. Their likelihood to call roughing. Their likelihood to have 4-on-4 situations. This guy specializes, and a couple other refs in the league, to be fair, specialize in games that get out of hand and endanger players. And the league will be better when he's gone. That's enough. I don't care that my team seems to lose every time he takes the ice. I believe they had a winning record in the regular season last year. They're 0-8 with him in the playoffs, which, okay, fine, whatever. Get your conspiracy theories out if you want. I just think he's bad. I think he's bad at his job, and his career has been a 1,300-game infliction on the sport, and it'll be better once he's done and decides he likes the beach.
I think you're mad at the wrong person, because the NHL is very happy with Wes McCauley's performance, as illustrated by the promotions and the big games that they keep giving to him. So I think you should be upset at the NHL in how they are training their officials, in what is the standard for officiating. And Wes McCauley, I think, under NHL rules and the way they want their games officiated, is doing a fabulous job. So do not be mad at Wes McCauley.
So, Jesse, we can actually put a number to that. Playoff games and Stanley Cup final games. So you know what? I'm gonna actually start at playoff games. Okay. Wes McCauley, among active officials, is third in playoff games done. Only 3 officials currently active have officiated in over 200 NHL games. Wes McCauley has done 201. The Leafs have lost all of them. Kevin Pollock has done 219. Kelly Sutherland has done 230. Now, Wes McCauley started officiating 3 years after those guys. So he's at least right on pace. The real kicker, to emphasize your point, how good the NHL thinks Wes McCauley is, it's unclear on the Scouting the Refs website. I don't think this is Stanley Cup final games. I said that in the LFR. I think it's just Stanley Cup finals. He's gotten the chance to officiate.
Yeah.
Kelly Sutherland and Wes McCauley are the only two officials tied at the top with 10 Stanley Cup finals officiated. The next closest guy, it's Dan O'Rourke and Chris Rooney with 6.
So they like Wes.
Yeah, your anger, I think, is misdirected.
So it's
Wes
not
McCauley, under his job description and according to his bosses, he is doing a great job.
someone's going to be the best
us-
ref. Someone's going to be the worst ref.
Yeah.
The NHL is looking at objectively a bottom 10 ref in this league, calling him the best.
They think he is not a bottom 10 ref in the league. They think he is doing a fantastic job. So when we harp on Wes McCauley for making mistakes and doing the wrong things, the NHL believes all of those decisions are correct, but evidenced by the things you just read.
Well, they
in
keep
that
using him.
They give him, and not even just using him, the biggest spots in the entire game, in the entire world of hockey, the Stanley Cup final. He gets to do it because he's the best. And in the eyes of the NHL, that's what's most egregious here. They think this stuff is good. And that's a travesty to the sport.
Well, and what do we think of when it comes to officiating the Stanley Cup Finals? Do whatever the fuck you want. What do I have the guy for you? Do I have the guy for you?
Exactly.
This guy lets you get away with fucking murder
And that's horrendous for the
every
game of hockey.
time. Every fucking time. It's best sport. Worst league. It's so not even close. It's so not even close.
So I've been hanging on to something because I don't have an LFR,
Yeah.
and that's probably
You should.
I don't think so.
No, you're right.
I don't think so. I think I don't need to be wrong more.
Well, you know what? Hey, you might get 10 Stanley Cup Finals out of it.
Well, you know what? You're right. You're right. Listen, if bad is good in the NHL, then sometimes I think my takes would go right to the top.
You might get 10 of the biggest paydays available to an official for being so shit at your job.
Adam, if I test you, if I give you $1 million to start an FR for one NHL team that's not the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you got to do it tomorrow, and you got to do it for the next 16 years.
This is season 17.
17 years. Who are you? What?
First off, you wouldn't have to give me $1 million.
What?
I think it would be fun.
What team are you picking?
Oh
Don't
man.
turn down $1 million. What are you
Yeah. What are you?
Well, no, I mean I take $1 million.
You dumb?
Yeah, you dummy, dumb.
You gonna take dinner with Jay-Z or $500,000?
You know who I'd take? I would take the Boston Bruins.
No.
Damn.
My God.
I would take the Boston Bruins all
That's
day.
a great answer. What are you talking
Why?
about? They've
Because
been
they're-
to 3 Stanley Cup Finals since I started doing this.
And they're always interesting. It doesn't matter what's going on in Boston. It's always interesting.
Even if they win 65 games, you talk about how they won.
Yeah, and their fans rule. Like you heard before overtime last night, they play shipping off to Boston. And the fans go fucking berserk. And we've seen games there. They're fun. They're engaging. The building is raucous. And holy shit, like it's, I don't know. How could you not want
Judas.
Well, and you know what, Adam?
Judas, that man.
No, you know what? Here's a little thought exercise. If I was doing LFR for the Boston Bruins, BFR, if I was doing that, what
BFR
would,
sounds a little dirty. It
does,
it's like
right?
it's like a porn category.
It's beef
Beef
for
or-
real. Fucking for real.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that too for Boston too. Be fucking for real.
There you go. So in your episode of Beefer, it's like, so the Bruins just won 65 games. They broke the record. Blew a 3-1 series lead, lost game 7 on home ice. It's Patrice Bergeron's final game in the NHL. That's disaster, right? So how do you talk about this season? In 2010, the Bruins had a 3-0 series lead on the Flyers. Blew it. Game 7, Bruins get a 3-0 game lead on the Flyers. Blow it. Flyers win. How did the Bruins follow that up? They won the Cup next year, and en route, they swept the Flyers. So the Bruins win the President's Trophy last year. They choke. It's the end of Bergeron's career. It's the end of Krejci's career. It's disaster. How do they follow it up? Everyone thinks they're going to take a step backward. You have the greatest start in franchise history, and you rub everyone's nose in it.
Oh, it's very Boston what's happening right now.
Oh, it's incredibly Boston what's happening. I would have a whale of a time if I was
Oh
covering
my God.
them right
It would be a riot. Now,
Yes, sorry.
so here's the thing that I've been holding on to. Jesse, I sent you a text too, so I'm going to bring it up. Here's what happens every time. Boston, I think you're right. Justin Bourne,
Jesus Christ, it's Justin Bourne.
said, it's the end of the week. I'm fried, man. He said, oopsies seem to follow Marchand around. And I would say, as goes Marchand, so do the Bruins, right?
You know who whoopsies also follows around? Toddlers.
Yeah.
Toddlers are always committing whoopsie.
Dogs too. Sometimes,
Dogs too.
Like
And
their
that's-
tails wag and they knock something out.
Marchand, toddler on the
Are you
ice.
saying every rug and couch in Marchand's house is covered in Cheeto dust?
So the reason that I am steamed this morning is because this is what happens. Every single time the Leafs play the Bruins, something happens. And what do?
We bitch about the refs.
Right. And sometimes, and I've made this mistake as well, we'll bitch about the Bruins. I remember saying Charlie McAvoy was dirty about 4 years ago, and Bruins fans got on me. And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You clearly don't watch any Bruins hockey." Meanwhile, he just beaned Oliver Ekman-Larsson and is apparently trying to appeal the suspension. Give me a fucking break, Charles Senior McAvoy.
If he wins,
Are you fucking kidding me?
If he wins, I want what's Buddy's name in Calgary? Murray Edwards.
Yeah.
I want a Murray Edwards press conference immediately.
Oh, I would love.
Immediately after.
Honestly, Murray Edwards, in my mind, is a little like Mr. Burns, and I want to know exactly what he thinks.
Oh, Murray Edwards versus Jeremy Jacobs. Oh, just a battle of the two worst people in the universe, and I hope both lose. Oh, that'd be amazing. But he would lose his mind, and he'd be right. Why did Rasmus Anderson lose his appeal and Charlie McAvoy didn't?
He's not going to, though.
He's not.
I don't know.
So
I don't know. There's
well-
no reason that he should win
well,
it, but you never know.
And
Scary.
also, hey, listen. Okay. So let's get back to my point here.
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make this one point.
No, bullshit.
Every time we get the Bruins, we get a play. It's questionable. Call isn't made. It affects the game. It affects the player's career. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right.
You're playing with 5D for at least 2 periods for the third time in 10 games.
Right. So my point here is, I think we have identified 2 issues over which we have zero control. The Toronto Maple Leafs and their fans and their ownership and everybody else cannot control what the Boston Bruins are going to do. The Toronto Maple Leafs and their fans and management and ownership cannot control what the Boston Bruins are going to do. The Toronto Maple Leafs and their management, not the fans, can control what the Toronto Maple Leafs and their management do. And I want to show you a clip of, and everybody was going in on Ryan Reeves about not doing something last night. Pretty tough when he's not on the ice.
He's got
Jesse, can you bring up this? And we can't show the clip, but we can show pieces of it. So look at the bench here. Now, you're not seeing to Ryan Reeves' left in this. You're seeing Nylander and Tavares are also on the bench. Reeves and Marchand are going at it. Noah Gregor saying a couple things.
Holmberg is doing a really funny impression of what a tough guy looks like.
And Bertuzzi was benched a good chunk of the game, and he's sitting at the end of the bench, and he's kind of just laughing because guess what? He's probably like this fucking guy, but he also played with him last year and probably likes him.
I wouldn't be sad if it was his last game in Toronto.
So let me
get-
just throw this at you, okay? Body language. Tavares, nothing. Won't even look him in the eye. Nylander, nothing. Won't even look him in the eye. And guess what happened after Liljegren? Immediately after Liljegren.
They scored.
No. Immediately after Liljegren.
Oh, Dick All.
The players on the ice, the best players on the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's Matthews and Marner. Nobody even skated over to see if he was okay.
They are
So hold on.
Okay.
Let me make this point. Guys, at a certain point, this team's DNA can't match up with its kryptonite. Meaning,
can't be changed.
When the Leafs, when they lose to tough teams. Who have they lost to? I mean, except for the Capitals years ago. They lost to Bruins. They lost to the Blue Jackets. They lost to
Bruins again?
The Bruins again, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers.
Like, at what point are you just a unlikable, weak-kneed group of weaklings?
So this is-
like the Blue Jackets, the Lightning.
Well, the Lightning you can understand.
The Lightning, I mean,
Oh no! Don't
No,
discredit
no,
the toughness of the Lightning.
no!
I don't think so. Here's the thing.
Nikita Kucherov is going to cut your head off for that.
And I'm not listen. No. I'm saying the Lightning. You can understand how you lost to them.
Yeah.
right. Because they're far tougher than anyone gives them credit for.
Yeah, but
Nikita
like-
Kucherov creates room because he's a psychopath.
He's like
And-
5'10", $190,
No.
and 50 pounds of that is chest
but he
hair.
acts
But
like he's
nuts.
7 foot 500 pounds.
Yes, you're right.
My point in this is the only group at fault here are the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep.
Their DNA and their players.
Yeah.
And I loved the way, and I want to say this, I love the way Matthews and Marner came back and scored. That's what you should
I
do.
don't. They do that all the time.
But no,
You
no,
fall
hold
behind, you
though.
cheat on
hey,
offense.
Hey, listen, you had your time. Let me
Okay,
get
okay.
some time.
You go.
I love you,
You
but
go.
let me get
You
some
go.
time.
You go.
Matthews and Marner need to lead. Tavares
can't.
needs to lead.
In case-
And it can't be silent leadership. Physically, you have to get involved. You look at the last few captains of the Toronto Maple Leafs, like that were great. And no offense to the ones that didn't have great teams around them. Phaneuf, tough, but like shit team, right? You look at Sundin, you look at Wendell Clark, you look at Doug Gilmour, those guys who were the captains of the last truly great teams. All of those guys were tough. If anybody fucked with the Leafs, no one gave Matt Sundin credit. He was right the fuck in there, grabbing collars. And here's the thing.
That dude was...
Ty Domi would then come on the ice and go, "Did you just touch Matt Sundin?"
Well, and Sundin was also 6'5", like 240, and people would ride him like they were Santa and his sleigh, like back when hooking calls were basically allowed, and he was Rudolph the Red-Nosed fucking reindeer.
My annoyance with this team, guys, is that when it gets tough, they walk away. If that, listen,
Every time.
if Steve and Jesse and I are playing a charity tournament next week, if anybody did that to you guys, I'd be over the boards and beating the shit out of them.
Please don't.
I
Please
would.
don't.
No,
I would be
the
so
captain.
fucking mad.
It
Are
is
you
literally,
kidding me?
it is
I would
for
be so-
children.
No, but this is...
We
but
are raising money for
this is the-
charity. Don't beat anybody.
No,
up.
no.
Yeah,
Every-
also, don't can opener a guy in a charity
Yeah.
tournament, too.
Also,
don't beat somebody up.
every year, there's some guy where it's like, do you know where you are?
Yeah.
Do you know?
100%.
Fucking relax.
And there have been fights at the tournament.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it's-
there
it's
have.
so-
And those
hilarious.
guys, you never win.
No.
Like everybody is wrong.
Everyone lost.
But my
Everyone
point here
lost.
is leading is more than scoring goals, guys. Leading is great. You don't have to fight. I'm not asking Matthews to like drop him with Marchand. I'm asking you to get mad.
I am.
I'm asking you after the game to say more than you don't like to see it. Oh, you don't like to see it.
Crosby can fight. You can't. Ovechkin can fight. You can't.
You know what? Listen, it's
Kucherov
probably
can
not a
fight, you can't.
It's probably not a good idea, but
Giroux can fight. You can't. Malkin can fight. You can't. Letang can fight. You can't. Datsyuk can fight. You can't.
McDavid doesn't.
Perry can fight. You can't. Pretty sure McDavid has a fight. Well, the one time he did try to fight in junior, he missed the guy and
Yeah,
punched the boards.
that's what I'm saying. So McDavid.
McDavid can fight. You can't. How many of the leagues? Stamkos fucking mixed it up.
Yep.
He picks his spots. He goes after guys like Matthews and Zherdev, but like
less about
he'll
the
fight.
fight, less about the fight, more about the at least pretend to be mad that your teammate's down on the ice and hurt. They didn't. And
Willie looks a little mad.
gives a fuck.
No, he's not even looking at him. If you watch that play, he's not looking at him. And listen, there are certain players you don't expect it from. Willie's one of them. But if you're going to wear a letter on this team, at a certain point, you're going to have to understand that the game that you play is violent, it's tough, and every single time the Leafs lose the punk test. And I do want to show Bertuzzi on the end of the bench.
Sure.
Let's
John
get
Tavares, by
get
the
off
way,
my hockey team.
is not paying attention.
Get
No,
off
he's not. And that's my fucking problem. What at a certain like
He's looking
listen,
somewhere
What
else.
is Reeves going to do if he's the only guy? Just like last year when Michael Bunting was the only guy and they were like, "You know what? Treliving went to the roster, to the key players on the roster and said, "We want to retain Bunting. What do you think?" And the report this summer was that the Leafs were kind of tired of his shenanigans.
Yeah.
No,
So they let him walk to Carolina.
He does the thing that we never do, and we're tired of it. So let him walk.
You know
and
what-
look at him. Look at him.
And I brought
8
up
points.
And I brought up Calgary with Matthew Tkachuk. Jake Muzzin punked him. Nobody stood up for him at the end of the game. And he slammed the boards and left. And what would we get out of Calgary afterwards? The Flames are kind of tired about having to go to bat for Matthew
and they
Tkachuk.
stink. They've
Never been the same.
They've never been the same, and they stink.
So-
and where did Florida go?
Stanley
Stanley
Cup
Cup final, and they might have won the thing if he didn't have a literal broken sternum.
Jesse, check out Bertuzzi on the bench here.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
We're going to send Bertuzzi to Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Oh, my God. Yeah, so before we get to Bertuzzi, 517, 491. What am I talking about?
I have no idea.
517 is the amount of games Marner has played. 491 is the amount of games Matthews has played. This is who they are.
I know.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. You can't have here's here's what's going to be taken out of context with what I'm saying. What's going to be taken out of context
Everything?
is, oh, you want them to be the toughest team in the league. No. I want them to be tough. Oh, you want them to just drop skill and get tough? No. The Boston Bruins are a perfect example of a team that has skill and is tough. And by the way, certain players are super skilled and tough.
Travis Konechny is 180 pounds of nothing. And dude puts up points every year and fights fucking everyone. It's just not who they are.
So here's what
They're
I'm
not
saying.
built for this.
So this is the problem, because last night, as far as early season games go, is the closest you're going to get to playoff hockey. Even the announcers were like, well, bit of a playoff atmosphere tonight. Well, yeah. And what Boston did, yeah, I mean, the game was only 3-2. Boston fucking exposed the Leafs. They
were horrible in the third period. Everyone stopped.
They exposed the Leafs. They exposed their weaknesses, and they exposed the lack of team chemistry. Okay, that's nice that these guys get along, but do they ride for each other?
How many more babysitters do we need?
Do they ride for each other? Are they out there riding for each other? Are they out there sacrificing for each other? I don't think so.
Well, yeah, the 40-year-old.
And this is the problem. So Bertuzzi, let's talk Bertuzzi. I feel like this is him just going, fuck, man, like you're an idiot.
Bunting but ass?
No, he's not smart. Like, that's not smart. You're on national television. Brad Marchand's in front of you. Don't smile. Like, this time and place. You can't do that. Like, if the whole idea is we got to be tougher and we got to work as a team, you got to support people, and like we got to act here. Like, this is exactly the opposite of what you want to do.
Like,
it makes no sense. It's such a stupid thing.
We've talked about like being a fan and what it is. Being a fanatic. To be a fanatic, you need to be enthused. You need to be in love with your team to a certain extent. Last night is how you fall out of love with the team. I'm supposed to cheer for that player? Fuck you. Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You should. Why didn't you sign in Boston? You still want to be there. Fuck you. Like what did the Leafs, like, we know they obviously watch stuff back. Sheldon Keefe, I guarantee, before he spoke to Wes McCauley, was like, let me make sure I saw what I saw. And then he watches that play back. That dude should be in the press box. And I know he's playing hurt, but like that's got nothing to do with his injury. And like I think Reeves is hurt too. The cap situation makes it so that
well, and that part of it
yourself.
needs to follow with the management group. Brad Treliving, key among them, is okay. So you swung and you missed on Gudas and Ryan O'Reilly.
Yeah.
So you're
Shen?
Shen too. I think they went after Gudas though too. Apparently they made an offer and he just said no. I'd rather go to Anaheim.
Hilarious.
And so
look at them.
And then
It's amazing what happens when you give a fuck.
And you've got Kampf and Klingberg instead, right? And
disgusting.
And listen, I know Bertuzzi didn't expect to sign here or necessarily want to sign here.
Make better decisions.
But
of shit.
I do feel like, first off, he's a better player than this.
Yeah,
second,
he's been playing terribly.
Does the benching, because Sheldon was asked after the game about why he only played 3 shifts in the third. Bertuzzi, this is. And he said he needs to simplify his game. We've told him he needs to simplify his game, and he didn't.
Oh, so he's not fucking listening.
Yeah.
So is that what it is?
You got a chance to start the season with Matthews and Marner. You do not get a better serving of food. And you sat there and you said, I don't want any of it, and you walked away.
You have the same career trajectory as Nick Ritchie and Jimmy Vesey. You make $5 million? Fuck off.
He had the best opportunity in the entire league to excel here. 2 of the best players in the game are your centerman and your winger. And he's done nothing with it. And then where an incident happens where if the whole thing is attitude for this team, his attitude is piss poor.
And then,
so yeah, he deserved every single benching he got last night.
You got demoted for Noah Gregor. Retire.
I also want to say that, so I put a lot of this on the players, and rightfully so. I think a lot of Leaf fans this morning are pissed. And you don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't be pissed. You absolutely need to be pissed about this. The problem is that the Leafs don't seem to be. Now, the next issue I have is with management. Reeves is hurt. Bertuzzi is probably hurt.
Now we don't know that with Reeves,
Hold on,
but it's my theory.
We don't know with Bertuzzi either, but he's probably hurt. He's not. He looks like he's skating with a 100-pound weight tied to him. Like,
I mean, they said 2 games in, oh yeah, he's not 100%, and then just sort of never addressed it.
Yeah.
So my point in saying all this is the reason that they can't give those guys some rest. So maybe Bertuzzi's not playing great and he's hurt. Maybe both are true, and he could use a few games to recoup. They can't. Schedule because they're up against the cap so much, and they're in LTIR, so they're not accumulating space. Guys, at a certain point, this management group has got to stop riding that line and praying and hoping. And by the way, we blame Dubas for this. They're still doing it. Who's the common denominator? That's right, Brendan Shanahan.
So I was like, wait a minute.
But Brad Shiliving has been here for like an hour. Like, in terms of team building, he has not been here for.
And this is
you see it on his face whenever the camera goes to him. I'm pretty sure he hates this team with his whole heart.
And I feel like if this was a couple months from now, a couple of years from now, and he gets some time with this team, it'll be in a different situation. So I'm not blaming him entirely on.
You know what though? Do you need to sign all the way to the cap? Can you not leave yourself a couple $1 million for injuries?
I think because of the hand he's dealt with the core 4, that's the only way you could operate with this team. Like, what are you going to do? Not try and go for it when you have these players?
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Now, I don't know. I assume Liljegren's going on LTIR. I don't know if that gives them any flexibility in terms of, like, being able to call up, like, a Robertson or someone who, like, vaguely gives a fuck. But, like... Again, it's not necessarily about winning or losing. Honestly, after the Liljegren injury, I did not care if they won or lost that game. When they tied it, I was like, all right, well, we're here. Might as well try.
And they were great goals. And it was nice to see Marner score.
Yeah.
It really was. Like, you could tell.
Of course.
It meant a lot to him. And he had missed an opportunity to shoot just before that where he'd passed it. And I was like, Mitch, you have a shot. Please shoot.
But, like, how many times have we seen something like that happen to the Bruins or, like, another team, and they abandon the sport?
Yeah.
They abandon the sport. The rest of the game is about getting their pound of flesh, and they get it.
The problem with that is when, you know, obviously you play to win the game. I get it.
Right.
You got to have your goal scorers score. But they still fucking punked you, man. They still made you look foolish, and then you made you look foolish. Like the Leafs, at very least, those guys on the bench could have stood up and been like, hey, fuck you, man. That's all you needed to do. And fans would be like, okay, well, at least they care. Shit happens. It's hockey.
Yeah.
You don't go through a season without somebody taking a cheat shot at one of your players.
What do you got, a tongue injury?
That's the point. So with Bertuzzi, and this was really odd conversation after the game, and if I was with that panel, I would have asked them why they were having it. They were talking about Bertuzzi, and the onus from certain people seemed to be on Keefe needs to figure out Bertuzzi, and they need to be more supportive of his role on this team. And my thought is, I'm sorry, did you? I'm trying to figure out how. I thought that the support started with signing him to the contract in the first place. At that point, then you give him a spot next to Marner and Matthews all the way through camp and through the first 5 games, minimum.
How many more times do we need to see this movie where someone gets an audition with Austin and Mitch and it doesn't work out, and they're, oh, maybe it'll work out with John, and then it doesn't, and they try him with Austin and Mitch again, and it doesn't, and then like within 2 weeks of the season beginning, they're on the 4th line, and then we're like, what do we do with this player?
Thing is,
and the player who they do that with gets more expensive every time.
Bertuzzi,
it was VC, then Richie.
Bertuzzi is a better player than those guys. Tyler Bertuzzi is a better player than Nick Ritchie.
Well, the guy who scored 10 goals in 7 playoff games, 10 points in 7 playoff games. Where's that guy?
He hasn't shown up this season yet.
The paychecks still do.
Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest dilemma with him. You know, he hasn't shown up, and it's like, how many times do you keep trying to get him to go? But because you know it's in there. That's the thing with him.
And that dude's
he played 11 minutes and 50 seconds last night. What do the Leafs need to do here?
No,
I'm asking you guys. What do you think? What needs to happen with Bertuzzi right now?
Find a way to unfuck your cap. And I don't know about LTIR, but he's got to at least sit for a few games. He's got to sit till Sweden, I think, I think they have 3 or 4 games left till then. Because he's useless. He's useless, and this is not a useless hockey player.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a player I was genuinely pumped about, by the way.
Dude, he was an animal in the playoffs last year. I loved watching him on Detroit, and he's useless.
You know who's been good? Gregor.
Yeah.
Gregor's been great. Same with Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes had little sparks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the coach is hell-bent on playing him.
Why, Domi, why don't they put Matthew Nyes in the top 6 where it worked last year?
They tried a couple shifts, 2 shifts.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big tryout.
Dude,
no, but like after all of this happened, they didn't start the game like that, obviously.
Take Kampf off that fucking line. What are you doing?
What
are you doing?
So here's what I want to say.
You're wasting our time.
We talked about this last episode, and I'm so fucking thrilled that it happened exactly the way we planned it in overtime. Because overtime starts, Leafs throw out Kampf.
Oh, he's terrible.
Loses the faceoff.
He's absolutely terrible.
The Leafs can't get the puck back for 2 whole minutes.
Dude, I regret everything I've ever said about Kampf in overtime. He's terrible. Stop. Never again. He should never play another shift.
I want to ask a question. What happened to Austin, John, and David, all 3 of those guys in the center ice dot? What do you mean you're losing 70% of your draws last night? And people were texting me or tweeting me going, well, they can't throw out Austin and John because they're not winning faceoffs either. You know, here's the difference with Austin and John. Together, they make $22.5 million.
They also don't have to immediately skate to the bench after they lose a draw.
I'm sorry.
And he couldn't.
At least if you have Austin out there and he loses the draw, at least he's on the ice. With David Kampf, then he's just stuck out on the ice.
Yeah.
If you're going to have somebody lose the draw, have it be your best player.
It might as well be your best player.
Kampf is going to lose the draw regardless.
Yeah, that's completely on Shelby Keefe.
I'm sorry.
Stupid.
If you're the highest paid player in the league at 13.25, which begins next year, I'm really, really not interested in what you can't do.
Right. How much better is David Kampf at faceoffs than Austin Matthews that they're playing this percentage? Because he's clearly not. Because
marginally, maybe.
Yeah, that marginal difference that they have isn't worth having him out there for the 2 minutes where he gets stranded because he can't get to the bench. Just throw out Austin. I don't understand this anymore.
And again, this is a game where they erased a 2-goal deficit. They forced it to shootout.
Yeah, but
they get a point. But
we're talking about what takes a team from good to great. Here's the thing. Every time we criticize the Leafs, there's a section of the fan base that's like, you guys don't even like this team. No, I fucking love this team. I've never liked this team. I love this team.
What is there to like about this team? We have a very,
very good team. We have a very, very good team. I'm looking for greatness now. 7 years of these guys. I'm looking for greatness because it's there.
I gotta say, Nick Kypreos, a lot of people don't like to hear what he has to say. He has this team figured out. We can all dunk on him for suggesting, I think it was Marner for Hannafin. Or
that was 7 years ago. We can let it go.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Let it go.
Listen, you can dunk on him for a variety of things. Oh, he reads this team like a book.
What did he say?
Because people go, oh, they erased a 2-goal deficit. Yeah, it's the same thing that happens every time. You fall behind because you suck. And then you cheat for offense, and your gifted offensive players tie the game. Then what happens? Game's tied again. And you get caved in because you suck. And then you lose. Yeah, went to the shootout. By the skin of their teeth.
All right.
The final 5 minutes was all Boston.
So
overtime was all Boston. Really? What the fuck was that penalty?
Okay, so here's
on that comeback thing. I talked about it last year, but that's one of my favorite bets. It's the easiest way to make money on the Leafs is whenever they're down, and especially when they get down by 2 goals. You get on the Leafs, you get like plus 2.5 goals or plus 1.5 goals, and they always come back and they cover that spread.
Because
I did it all last year. I've been doing it a little this year, and every time this team is great at coming back and getting back into the games. And if you can get them plus on the $1.50 or $1.50, it's easy money.
But because they get to play the only hockey they're interested in.
Yeah.
What do you think?
They're just not interested.
They're so predictable.
Yeah. See, what's more reliable? Anytime goal from somebody that used to either play for the Leafs or grew up here, or them coming back and covering the spread.
I like them coming back, and if you get them 2.5 goals every time they get within 2, you know, they do it every time.
So here's what I want to ask. So Jesse, do you have the shift chart from the game last night?
I can get it
if you don't mind pulling it up. So the Leafs. Here's what I want to break down with overtime. I think these games against the Bruins, against the Kings, against the best teams in their division are really important snapshots about where this team is at. Yeah. That's why we're spending the time.
That win over the Lightning? Great win.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, no, like I'm emphasizing your point.
Oh, over the Leafs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or for the Leafs. I mean.
Yeah, earlier this season.
Yes.
Not
sorry.
the playoffs.
I think you meant last night.
No.
I'm like, I don't know.
No, my bad.
No,
my
he
bad.
means, like,
Earlier this season in overtime.
Because it's really important. Like, listen, when the Leafs, when Vancouver beats us on San Jose, what do you learn? San Jose's bad. We knew that.
Yeah.
And the Canucks, to their credit, are very good right now.
Holy.
So the thing with the Leafs in overtime is they send Kampf out. He loses the faceoff, and here's the thing: the Bruins are really fucking smart. Their coach, they replaced a smart coach with a smarter coach. It's crazy. And so what do immediately? They get the puck. And do they do the back pass thing and fuck around in their defensive zone? No. Why? Because David Kampf is out there with Mitch Marner and Morgan Riley. You push, and they went right into the Leaf zone. How long was David Kampf out there? I'm guessing
2 minutes.
It was 2 minutes to start. And then the Leafs finally get the possession back, and Willie randomly, they lose possession again. Willie randomly takes the weirdest penalty I've ever seen him take.
I guess
What was the deal?
The only thing I can think is he was like, if I don't do this, Pasta's going to beat me to the inside. It's going to be a 2-on-1, and it's better to take the penalty.
Great. So you've made it now a 4-on-3 for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not better to take the penalty in overtime doing that, especially because what Willie did, if you missed the play, is he basically pulls Pasternak over from behind. It's a penalty all day, even for Wes McCauley.
Like, we're gonna obviously be called biased for the earlier conversation, but that was a play where out loud as it happened, I went, Willie, what the fuck?
Oh, that's an obvious penalty. and then this is the part that kills me. Who do the Leafs have to send out on shorthanded?
Kampf, Giordano, Brody.
And so Kampf, who's already played 2 minutes of a 5-minute 3-on-3 overtime.
He played a minute 32.
Kill me.
Minute 32. What's the second shift in overtime?
It was a quicker one. It was 2:25 to 2:40.
And what's the third shift in overtime, Jesse?
It was a little quick. It was quick as well. 3:11 to. It was a minute.
David Kampf had 3 shifts.
So he played half of the overtime.
You got a minute there. You got about 30 seconds there.
And then you got hold on,
minute
minute
and a half.
Hold on, listen to Jesse. Hang on. Minute
and a half.
Uh-huh.
About 25 seconds. And then about a minute here. 50
So
seconds.
2.5 minutes.
Around 2.5
More.
minutes, yeah.
Dude, you
can't win if you're playing David Kampf half your overtime.
Well, and Tavares makes $11 million. Matthews makes 11.634. Cool fucking contract. They play the same position. Oh dear. Like again.
I get
listen. There are lots of shows out there. We're maybe not the show you want necessarily when it comes to the Leafs. We're the show you need. We have these guys figured out. Love it or hate it, no one's doing a better job at this than us. We understand this team. We are historians of this team. We are experts of who they are and what they do. It's not just that we're fans. It's following and being honest about what we're seeing over a long period of time. And so many of these guys have been here for a long period of time. 2016, a lot of these guys. Tavares has been here for a long time now. It's getting to the point where it's going to be what he's remembered for. Like, I remember for the first few years, I was like, this is weird. What's that Islander doing on the Leafs? And why are Islanders fans so mad about it? You know what I mean? We know this team front and back. We know them better than they know themselves. They're in trouble.
And they'll probably win a lot of games, by the way, in November. They'll probably win a lot of games. That doesn't take that away.
Like, what have we listed that is to like?
Sammy's performance.
Like a top 10 performance he's had as a Leaf. Like, I saw that the Leafs were within 5 shots of the Bruins. Where? When?
That second period, after the first couple minutes.
Right. So it came.
And the beginning of third-ish. You know.
It came the way it always comes. When they're down already.
Oh, yeah.
So it's score effects. So again, you look at their numbers this year, 5-on-5, they're soft. They've been killing it on the power play, but 5-on-5, there's soft numbers. When the game's tied, woof.
Austin, by the way, played a minute in a bit in overtime.
Put him out.
It's 20
for every face-off. Austin Matthews is 26 years old. I think he can play. He'll be fine. He's in the best physical shape he'll ever be in. Put him out.
50 seconds plus about 28 seconds.
Now, if this is against
a minute and a half,
Don't you
if
feel
it's overtime against
minute
San Jose,
25.
I'm like, fucking put Kampf out, do whatever you want. But this is Boston. You got to play your best.
Well, this is what they think is their best. They think David Kampf is a better option than $11 million John Tavares and 11.634, soon to be 13.25 million Austin Matthews. They think Kampf is the best option of the three
So
to win a face-off at the beginning of overtime.
in the most important part of the game.
Somebody needs to sit Sheldon down and go, Sheldon.
That's ridiculous.
Sheldon, listen, you're a really great coach. You got some blind spots like every coach does. You can't do this anymore. And if you do it anymore, I'm trading David Kampf. Like, you got to go full Billy Bean on him.
Who's taking that fucking deal?
Yeah, nobody's taking the deal.
Did we forget to text Alan and tell him that William Lagesson had a good game?
Hey,
I did actually.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Okay, because
No, Lagesson.
Lagesson had a great game.
Yeah.
Lagesson, I mean,
He can play shorthanded, too.
Yeah.
get used to him.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
going to be seeing a lot of him, even if Jake McCabe comes back.
Hey, you know what I liked? You know, you want to talk positivity yesterday? I saw John Klingberg making Brad Marchand's life a little bit hellish. He was pushing him around and giving him an assist.
He was the toughest Leaf last night. God help us all. John Klingberg. I told you, didn't I? I told you his game had some grit.
It does.
It does. It's not the most,
Yeah.
but it's there.
So here's the thing. People will say we're overreacting.
He saved a goal.
People will say it's this, it's that. There's plenty of time to improve it, and I agree with you. The problem with there's plenty of time to improve this argument is that this is what we've been seeing for 7 years. This is not new. And everything about last night, every negative thing that you can say was highlighted all at once. Now, you could play Boston 10 more times and maybe one or two of those things are highlighted in every game, but this was a fabulous snapshot. And by the way, the game versus LA was too.
Dude.
The game versus LA was an embarrassment, and I don't think enough was made of that.
We haven't even mentioned one of the most important parts. What the hell was that decor?
What do you mean?
Boston's.
Oh, I know.
What's
They
wrong?
had no McAvoy. They've got like 3 regulars out.
No, Boston. You got to give credit to Boston.
Yes.
They're fantastic
No,
defensemen.
I know, but you cannot ask for a better situation. Like, yes, they have depth and everything. They're still using guys from the AHL. There was who was it? Leroy?
Yep.
That was his first NHL game. Where's he from? Louisiana?
Yeah, he's the first NHL player ever from Louisiana.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
It was pretty sick.
I can't believe it's taken this long, but that's very
I
cool.
can. Football state.
Yeah, I guess.
Now you got 2 options, right? I'm gonna give you your pick. I'm the hockey gods. You get your pick. You get to play the Bruins with Charlie McAvoy or someone playing their first NHL game.
What's his first name?
Curtis?
No,
I don't know.
It's Ross Boston.
Adam. What's
That's Ross Boston.
Loray? Loray is how you say it. Or
Lori. Sorry.
Loray.
I have no
Lori.
idea.
I got it wrong. My bad.
What's his first name? Adam, you got a guess?
I fucking have no idea.
Bert.
Mason.
Mason Lori.
Well, that's great. Like Stonemason.
Yeah. Stone Mason Lori.
One thing that
Speed.
was very apparent in that first period was the great system defense that Boston plays from their forward group down to the defensemen. The way they're able to push the Leafs into playing the game that the Bruins want to play is fantastic to watch. In that they never let the Leafs get set up in the zone. Everything has to be off the rush, and that's what they're forcing the Leafs to do. And there's no zone time for the Leafs at all in that first period.
No.
And Boston, they play this way, and it's so cool to watch because it's a perfect hockey team.
You lost to a team playing Kevin Shattenkirk on their first pair.
And he
Yeah, but
in 2023. I know. But
But you're saying it like, oh, how can Kevin
he should be done.
No, but he has not been this player. He hasn't been quality first pair defenseman since when? Like 2017?
right now because of how Boston plays hockey.
Yes.
No.
You know what?
You insert
You're right.
anybody into that lineup, and they got it down because they're a team. And hockey's so much more of a team game than individuals, and they get them all to play this same way where they're playing this great stifling defense. And Leafs couldn't get anything going that first period. And who cares if it's Kevin Shattenkirk or Mason Loray out there or Brandon Carlo? They're all doing the same shit. They're all playing tough and great hockey.
I got to throw this something at you. Name another Boston team who were just magicians at finding guys, plugging them.
The
in.
Patriots.
The fucking Patriots.
Yeah, you're throwing Damian Amendola in there.
They made Wes Welker's fucking career.
Yeah.
They signed some fucking free agent nobody, plug him in, and then 3 years later he's signing a ridiculous contract with the Raiders because he's done so well in the Brady.
This is what great teams do.
100%.
They turn guys in there. I don't care if we lost our first 2 centers. We got Pavel Zacha.
Yep.
That's the Boston Bruins. That's what we're chasing. This team is fucking perfection, and we want this shit.
There are a lot of Bruins fans who obviously haven't watched my content for a long time because they're like, "You said we'd suck," and I'm like, "I think I had you like third,
Yeah.
in the division." So yeah, okay, I was a little wrong. You're better than even I thought you would be, and I had you making the playoffs.
But you miss Bergeron. You don't miss a beat. It's fantastic to see.
Well, and this is
Crazy.
here's what's frustrating as a Leaf fan too, is that we were sold that this is what the organization was going to do.
Oh, they lied.
When Lou came in, that was the goal. When Dubas came in, that was already executable. It's going to be like a Christmas tree. We're going to have lots of players in the E, lots of players in the A. We lose somebody, we'll plug in the next guy. We're going to play Toronto Maple Leafs hockey. Guys, we don't have a brand.
I'm done.
We don't know what Toronto Maple Leafs hockey was, except for occasionally coming back from a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, they get down and they score goals.
That's not a system, though.
I'm
that's
done.
That's just leaning on your good players.
I'm done buying the shanty snake oil.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna play this way. We're gonna play that. Shut up. Show me.
And I want to know. I don't think that this team is the team that Brad Treliving ideally would ice.
Not even close.
But I want to know what they're going to do about it. Because if the goal is to continue down this path, re-sign Nylander, who, by the way, deserves every penny he gets.
Been great.
He's been great. I don't know that they can afford him anymore. Probably should have taken the $10 million deal because he's been that good.
Hey, you know who's got, you know who's got 3 goals?
Who?
Sam Lafferty.
Oh, jeez.
Shut up.
On what team?
Vancouver.
Who's doing what?
Winning?
Amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
Do you guys?
Maddie just said, "Oh my god," off camera.
I got a
That's
question
hilarious.
for the two of you.
What do you got?
Do you believe that Brendan Shanahan is going to let Brad Treliving build the team that Brad Treliving wants?
No.
There you go.
No, I think it's going to be
what's the problem?
I think it's going to be Brad. Here's Brad's battle.
What was the problem in the spring when I yelled it from the rooftops? Again, stick with us. We know what the fuck we're talking about.
Brad's going to have to do this. And I think Brad's what we call managing up in a corporate situation. You got a boss who believes this thing, believes it with their whole heart. So what you need to do is chip away at the thing that you know is wrong. I'm assuming Brad knows that this is not working. I hope he knows. And he's going to have to go up and continually repeat the message and continually point out where the thinking is flawed until the manager, through their own crazy, super smart brain, goes one day, this isn't working. I was thinking last night, and here's what I thought. That's usually how you have to manage up in a corporate environment. You have to make your manager, to convince your manager, but also make it seem like it was their idea.
Hey,
and I think that's what he's in. I honestly think that's what he's in for. And it sucks because I think what the part of the Dubas press conference, and it does come back to this, that sticks out to me the most. More than the family thing, more than I'm not sure I want to come back, more than the contract negotiations. The part of the Dubas press conference that sticks out to me is the part where he suggested the core 4 could no longer continue. That, to me, sealed his fate with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yep, and Shanny said, "Here's my window," and he got rid of him. He said, "Here's my window." Now, listen, Dubas wears a lot of that.
He should.
He should. Well, and also the Pittsburgh Penguins should 1,000,000% be fined for tampering. 1,000,000%. Oh, my God.
No.
And maybe Dubas, too.
No, Steve. All the deals that are signed on July 1st are magically made right as soon as free agency starts.
Yeah.
No, there's no tampering across the NHL.
I've never heard of
They have these long dozens-page contracts ready to go as soon as the guys are free agents. And GMs just get hired all the time right away because no one's talking to anybody.
Dubas loud quit. That guy quit loud as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
That guy loud quit. And then, got a promotion, $7 million. I guess I can't hate it, other than I don't believe for a second they didn't speak ahead of time. But yeah, like you talk about two people. I mean, the Penguins are doing shit too. Two people in a situation where I found I could cheer for neither of them.
Yeah, I still
With Shanahan and Dubas coming out. Of
I still feel like I still feel like with I listen, man. I was the one that didn't, and it's a long season, and I'm sure I was the one with the Penguins. Like, I think Kyle Dubas had a really head scratching July 1st. I didn't understand it. Even with Erik Karlsson, who just won a Norris, I still don't understand it. I don't think you're going to win with those guys. I just don't. I think they're too old.
Man,
end of story. But
I
respect them for trying. And here's what Dubas has to do. Fenway Sports and Entertainment that owns the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's a fun little
Dubas knows that this is a very likely an outside shot. Mm-hmm. So what he's going to do is he's going to come in on year 1 of 7, which is what the contract he signed, and he's going to manage up. He's going to say, you know what? We're going to go with your idea. I'm going to double down on this core, and look at me. I'm bringing in Erik Karlsson. Okay? And then what likely is to happen is this team, if they make the playoffs, don't know yet.
Man.
If they make the playoffs and they are out in round 1, he's got ammo. If they go on a run, he looks great. If they don't make the playoffs, he goes, guys, I don't think this is going to work. Yeah. And then he gets to enact his changes. That's what's happening in Pittsburgh.
Sid versus Ovi was so cool while it lasted.
Yeah, it was a great...
I really did think we'd get another year out of it.
I don't think we will.
No.
You know, we're a small business. There's no doubt about it. SDPN is just a partnership between the three of us.
It's a big business.
And one of the things that really helped us, especially early on, was being able to sell merch. It helped fund a lot of the things that we needed, like, you know, paying for like websites and, you know, making sure that we had the right equipment. And Jesse, you set that up on what platform?
Shopify. It's funny you should say that the shop paid for websites because, yeah, it paid for itself because we sold stuff on it. And then that pays the little amount that Shopify charges each month to build your website on it.
And this is the thing. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. It's got a global force behind a whole bunch of brands and entrepreneurs just like us. And really, that's what we use. So if you're in a small business situation or you want to sell things online and you want a fully customizable, completely supported, really great option, Shopify is for you. And you can check it out right now at sdpn.ca in our shop.
sdpnshop.ca. Get the name of our merch.
That's literally our Shopify account.
Yeah.
You can check it out right now. So sign up $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/SDP, all lowercase. Again, it's shopify.com/SDP. So you can grow your business no matter what stage you're at. Shopify.com/SDP. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, we've talked about BetterHelp before. And one of the things that that we always kind of advocate on the show is finding the help where you can get it. And this is a really great option for anybody that's not. This is the thing I always get from people. Like, I know I need a little bit of help, but I don't have time. No. You have to kind of make the time. But if you want to do it at your house, you're already there.
You
right?
don't have to make as much time.
100 exactly. That's the point. And you can do it over text, over video chat, over the phone, whatever you're comfortable with. And I think this is a key thing too. A lot of the hard parts about therapy is finding a therapist that gets you and you get them. Right? There is a chemistry to it. There's no doubt about it. And the great thing about BetterHelp is you get matched with somebody within 48 hours. If that doesn't really work out, you can always switch, which is awesome.
I like the last ad where you guys were fighting and we were going to sign you up for like a co-account so you could work out your issues.
Well, that could work too.
I forgot about that.
Listen,
we should still do it.
After 11 years doing this show, I'm sure there's some things we got to iron out. BetterHelp.com/SDP to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/SDP. You know, the fall's always a grind. And one of the things that kind of gets you through is your routine. And if your routine is good, then you should be able to kind of make it through. Because there's a lot going on. Obviously, you know, there's the back to school thing, there's Thanksgiving, there's Halloween, depends on what side of the border you're at, which order that comes in. And then, of course, you know, the big holiday at the end of it.
What is that?
Some of us call it Christmas. I don't know if you've heard of it.
The Feast of St. Stephen.
That's right.
Oh, there you go.
And, you know, so there's a lot. So one of the things that we highly recommend, Jesse specifically, is AG1.
Yes.
and it keeps you fired up. Make sure you get all your vitamins, even when you're crazy busy. And Jesse works literally all the time.
Yeah, no, that's such a key point. I think that's very important to illustrate this point. It's like it's an easy way to stay on top of this aspect of your health. It's just you take this every morning. It's simple. You do it without thinking, and every day you know you're getting all of the vitamins and nutrients that you need.
And AG1 helps you build your health foundation first. It's science-driven formula with vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source nutrients. Probiotics, you know what that means. Regularity.
Oh,
that's right.
I was like, not antibiotic.
It's a comprehensive solution, and if it's what you need with your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/STP. That's drinkag1.com/STP. Check it out. We have to talk about the Ottawa Senators.
Yes, we do. Should I put this cake in the fridge?
Yeah. I think maybe you should. No, I'll leave it for now. Michael Andlauer said the first 30 days of owning the Ottawa Senators
We're going to eat it anyway.
Were great. The last 10 have been horrible. And you can understand why. I have the press conference. I've got some clips I want to play. But here's what you don't need to listen to at the beginning of it, because the Michael Andlauer press conference is some of the best NHL theater I've seen in a long time. But much like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad, takes about 5-6 episodes to get into it. Okay? So they were negligent in nature.
How's the last season?
Game of Thrones or
Breaking Bad was fabulous.
Breaking Bad, fabulous.
Game of Thrones, awful. Which one's this?
Well, this one I think would be Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
All right.
Because, okay, it's not quite Breaking Bad, but it's still pretty good. So here's what you need to know from the first 8-9 minutes. The Senators were negligent. The duty of care was ignored. They embarrassed the league and pissed off 2 NHL clubs. That's a direct quote from Andlauer. The team was fined a first rounder in 24, 25, 26. That's their choice.
The 2 clubs thing is important information because we knew Vegas was pissed, and now we learned that Anaheim was really pissed because they were going to get a second-round pick to send over Ryan Kessler in that contract. And they were very upset that they are now burdened with this contract and didn't get a whole second-round pick, which is not insignificant.
Had to pay real money, which the owners there do not want to do.
Yes.
We will, Adam, we'll let
Samueli.
We'll let you go through the whole press conference, but I actually have a breakdown of the money involved.
Perfect.
And it's,
so let's come back to
Dorian's
you know what?
negligence.
Do you want to come back to that, or you want to hit that now and then we can
sure.
talk? Yeah, because I think it's relevant. The press conference is still relevant after that, and I think it's important you to break this down.
Yeah, Dorian's negligence led directly to these teams getting fucked.
Yep.
I need to do a more thorough breakdown, but
give us what you got.
Yeah, I'll give you what I got. So this is the trade that
if you get anything wrong, by the way, we'll fucking kill you.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. Sorry. Keep going.
I deserve it. So this is the trade that did happen.
Got it.
Okay. So to Vegas, Evgeny Dadonov, to Ottawa, Nick Holden, and a 2022 third rounder. Nick Holden played in 76 games with the Sens. I think he made 1.5. I didn't write down the amount of money he made. The third rounder that Vegas got. Listen, follow the bouncing ball. Vegas had originally gotten the pick from Vancouver on October 12th, 2020 for Nate Schmidt. Vegas then trades it to Ottawa. Ottawa trades the pick to Vancouver on March 20th, 2022, the day before the Dadonov deal was nixed between Vegas and the Ducks, for Travis Hamonic. So that pick is the reason Travis Hamonic is in Ottawa. Hamonic has played 102 games and counting for Ottawa and has re-signed through 24-25. Vancouver ended up selecting Elias Pettersson, the other one, with that pick. So if I'm Vegas, before we even get to the money part, out of this deal, which Vegas obviously thinks is in bad faith and is ill-gotten, you get a player who played 76 games for you and a player who has played 102 games for you and counting. Travis Hamonic's going to play something like 200 games as a Sen by the end of his contract, right? Already, yeah, but it's games of service, right?
I know, but it's crazy that that's the case.
Oh, I know, but it's games of service, right? And he obviously means something to the team. I mean, just look at the goalie situation with Forsberg.
Yep.
To Vegas, Evgeny Dadonov, 78 games played with Vegas, 20 goals, 23 assists, 43 points, +4, 18 penalty minutes. This doesn't have to do with the trade, but it's very funny to me. 15 goals, 12 assists, 27 points in 62 games before the botched trade to Anaheim. After the botched trade to Anaheim, 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points in just 16 games.
Wow.
So then we move on to the next deal. And this is where the money is important. To Vegas, John Moore and Ryan Kessler. To Anaheim, Evgeny Dadonov, and a conditional second rounder in 23 or 24. John Moore, acquired from Boston 2 days prior to this deal. So Anaheim acquired John Moore in the Hampus Lindholm deal, and they acquired his cap hit, and
They wanted to move him.
my assumption is they wanted to move him, and they had at very least spoken to Vegas about that, and Vegas knew he would have been involved in that deal. Obviously, it was a couple days later that this happened. This is only an assumption. I think it's a pretty reasonable assumption. Acquired from Boston 2 days prior, had over a year remaining at $2.75 million in salary for the remainder of 21-22. Prorated following. Oh, I screwed it up. Sorry. It was like $3 million.
Okay.
Basically.
You don't have to get super specific.
Yeah,
We're not
sorry.
gonna
And
cap
he didn't play a single game for them. Ryan Kessler was on the final year of a contract at $6.875 million cap hit and owed $6.675 in prorated actual salary, never played a game again. So again, we're talking about probably over $1 million. To Anaheim, Evgeny Dadonov was owed a cap hit of $5 million with 1 year remaining, was owed prorated $5 million salary for the remainder of that season and a full $6.5 million in 22-23. So if you're Vegas, that's money that you've lit on fire. Or or teams that you're dealing with already know that you were trying to get rid of that $6.5 million and they have all the leverage over you. Vegas later traded Dadonov to Montreal for Shea Weber straight up. Montreal later flipped Dadonov to Dallas in February 2023 for Denis Gurianov. And when it comes to the conditional second or in 2023 or 2024, Vegas had already traded away their 2023 first in the Eichel deal. I think I meant to say second. So unclear what the conditions were or what the plan was because they only had their 2024 second rounder at the time.
And in that, they end the season, Ryan Kessler, his contract expires, and Anaheim ends up getting nothing. And instead, they could have had, it was just a second, or what else was in the Knicks trade?
Dadonov.
Oh, yeah, Dadonov.
And for another year, too.
Right, and for another year.
They could have had somebody who could have scored for them last year.
Millions and millions and millions of dollars involved between Dadonov and the remainder of that season. Dadonov the following season. John Moore made a lot of money, and that was a player who never played again. Kessler made a lot of money, and that was a player who never played again. I don't know the exact math because it's prorated, but he was probably owed somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 to $2 million for the rest of that season. So
Montreal makes out like bandits for getting rid of that contract when they shouldn't have had a partner to dance with.
And we don't even know which contracts were and weren't insured.
Yeah.
So there's an enormous factor there financially. So it's not just the competitive edge that Vegas and Anaheim lost here. They got fucked for millions of dollars. So Ottawa Senators fans, I know, are unhappy about this situation. Vegas and Anaheim were absolutely correct to go after them for everything.
And as Michael Andlauer outlines, it kind of all comes down to Pierre Dorion not being on top of his paperwork.
And part of that, I would say, and I've said this before, is that nobody worked at the Sens.
It's true.
Dorion was there on his own, right? So I do believe this rests with Eugene Melnyk and his horrible management over the long term, systemically bad management and ownership of the Ottawa Senators.
Right, but you're going to love this because it contains your favorite word ever. On 32 Thoughts, they were talking about how Dorion ran the front office, and they said that a lot of it was siloed. Your favorite corporate word.
That's a Rogers word, by the way. That's a Rogers corporate word.
A lot of the way he ran the front office is that people were in their different silos,
Yes.
and that it wasn't a group effort to get things like this done. And that's how these things fall through the wayside and you slip up, because he didn't run a cohesive front office. So it's not only on Eugene. It seems like somebody below Eugene was running it kind of the way Eugene wanted.
Also not surprising, because he'd been with the organization since 2007. So he had come up in a siloed organization.
Yes.
And
so,
the CJ show, really good, really spicy. Talked about the potential of, like, when Andlauer said negligence, there's the possibility that they could have fired Pierre Dorion with cause.
Yes.
Which would then absolve them of having to pay him. I guess what either happened is they're like, well, there's not enough evidence here, which I would find hard to believe because of
no, he outlines what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
They were at dinner on the day before, and he's talking to Dorian, and they're like, okay, we have enough here that you need to, the punishment for you needs to be that you lose your job.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, I agree with that. Let's work out a way that I can just walk away and I can resign.
I agree with that, so I can get all my money
Yeah.
instead of you taking away all my money
Yeah.
for the rest of this season.
And Michael Andlauer did the right thing, by this guy, and he said, you need to lose your job. And he said, okay, so they negotiated his exit.
Yeah, I mean, it would have taken ages in court. It wouldn't have been a fun process. It probably would have hurt their chances of getting quality executives in the future.
There was no way this was ever going to court.
Yeah,
No.
he
Guys,
made
this
the
is
right
never going to
decision.
court.
I
He
don't-
made the right
What are we even
decision
talking
for
about?
his team.
It's never going to court.
Yeah, it's possible.
And so I guess Andlauer says, and like I told you, the press conference begins like Breaking Bad does, slow. But he says it starts to pick up around the fact that they had dinner and they both agreed that it was time to go their separate ways, because the penalty for something like this, in Andlauer's words, has to be forfeiture of your job. And so I also want to say, really impressed by his French. His bilingual is really, really good.
It's kind of important.
Now, 8 minutes in, Mr. Ian Mendez at that whatever publication, The Athletic, who the fuck are they, asks this question. Now, Jesse, I'm going to send this over to you. I've got actual clips to play, and this will end at 9 minutes and 11 seconds, because you'll hear Ian. By the way, shout out to the Ottawa Senators for miking the reporters during a press conference.
Hooray!
Please, God, Toronto Maple Leafs, figure this out. It's so annoying.
I don't think they want Steve Simmons to have a mic in front of him.
I don't blame them. But there are other good reporters in that room who deserve a mic.
Yeah,
Why don't you put the camera on me?
So
What was that all about?
huh? You all.
What was that all
You
about?
Steves all share something.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. That's what
was that
Maddie's trying to say.
I just see it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, what the fuck?
And you know who the next Steve Simmons is? His camera's still on you. It's not my fault.
Hey, stop it! Put it on Adam. Put it on Adam.
Have a listen to
There you
Ian
go.
Mendez.
Yeah.
here.
Ian Mendes with The Athletic. Two questions for you. The first would be, I know you said that Pierre effectively resigned from his duty, so I just wondered if you could take us through the mechanics of how that happens and what that conversation was like between you and him and Steve when that decision was sort of made.
Pause. So he's been totally calm and cool throughout. That pause, that laugh. Just rewind it 4 seconds, Jesse, if you can, or just
The look on Steos' face is really underrated.
Like between you and him and Steve when that decision was sort of made.
I'm just trying to think. Remember what
Now let
I
him
ate
answer
last night for dinner. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I did keep this between not many parties in this organization, but obviously there was 3 parties involved, and I was very proud in the fact that this organization kept Shane Pinto's announcement confidential. I was not too impressed with how this leaked out, but then again, there's two other teams that were involved and were advised, and I spoke with Gary on this subject matter last Tuesday. Gave me time to digest. Obviously, I went back and forth with the NHL on the ruling. I had to educate myself on the 73-page report that I read, understand the dynamics, and give people the benefit of the doubt. And ultimately, I came out with the decision. I sat down with Steve later in the week, suggested that I might be considering a move, and discussing this with Pierre. If he had a contingency plan because this was never anticipated. And I mean, I made it very clear. I like that two-headed monster that managed it, and probably that could have been avoided. This whole issue, and collaboratively, we just there's so much to do in the hockey operations.
Okay, so we paused there. Because the reason I wanted to pause it early is because the question, his answer kind of spills out and you don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is that laugh and that
says a lot.
I think it says a lot because that's where the steam starts to come out of his ears a little bit. Now, Ian Mendez followed it up with this next video. This will end at 12 minutes on the dot, or 12:01, Jesse, if you'd like to. This is where Andlauer talks about how he never anticipated this. And to me, this is where he starts to cook. This is where the kettle starts to whistle a little bit. And this, you got to remember, you got to grade this on a curve, right? This is hockey. This is an executive. He's a billionaire. So we're not going to see some sort of crazy explosion. But I have never heard an owner speak like this.
No.
You just kind of mentioned how you never anticipated this. You sort of inherited this situation. I think a lot of fans are wondering why this organization have to pay for something that happened 18 months ago, not even on your watch. What would you say to that?
Here,
Totally
pause.
agree with you. I have you.
That look says, Ian, thank you for asking that question. I've been waiting to cook.
Describe it to somebody who's listening.
Yeah.
He's literally eyebrows raised, maniacal smile, nodding his head slowly like someone who's about to flay you alive.
Here we go.
You sort of inherited this situation. I think a lot of fans are wondering why this organization have to pay for something that happened 18 months ago, not even on your watch. What would you say to that?
I totally agree with you. That's a question you have to ask the NHL. Why it took a whole year since the hearing? Granted, it was a 2-day hearing, 73-page reports. It's not something that's just slam dunk. The commissioner had a lot of time to deliberate on it and think about it. But why I inherited this is beyond me. There's no reason for it to last that long. I knew about it through the due diligence process, and it was basically, from the seller's perspective, it was really a non-issue. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if first round is a non-issue to you guys, but it is to me.
All right,
Dude's
we can leave it there.
That clip was my favorite part of this press conference because we got somebody who was handpicked by Gary Bettman to buy the one NHL team that was for sale, coming publicly, giving us a peek behind the scenes, and now we all know it is the shit show behind the scenes that we all think it is. Yep. And it is not a fair process in any respect, in any aspect of the NHL, from owners buying teams to guys getting suspended to referees on the ice, like Wes McCauley. Gary's just running a ship the way he wants to run it. I want to hold back this information so that we can get the highest price for this sale of the Senators.
Well, I think
that's what he's doing here.
So to that point, who was the lowest bidder for the Ottawa Senators?
Michael Andlauer.
Yes. Michael Andlauer was the lowest bidder for the Senators. Michael Andlauer wanted to spend $800 million. That's what he capped out. Hold on. The rumor is that Gary said, listen, Michael, we don't want anybody else to buy this team. We want you to do this. You're going to have to cough up another $100 million. So imagine you're coughing up another $100 million, and you're also working to sell your Canadian shares, which we can get to later.
Yeah.
And you're like, this team is not worth $900 million. I've done my due diligence. I believe it's worth $800 million, which if Sportico and Front Office Sports and some of these publications are to be believed, he's right. It's worth about $800 million. So you're asking me to spend
it's a little more than that.
Okay, you're asking me to spend $100 million more than that. Okay, and then I find out that you didn't tell me, and we're not upfront and honest about this hearing, which happened a year ago. It should not have. It should have taken a week to go through this. But I think the problem is that everything has to go through central office or head office for the NHL, and because of the amount of bullshit and scandals. Because Gary is a sort of a one-man show, he couldn't adjudicate on this any earlier than that because his schedule's so packed.
No, I don't believe that at all. I believe he purposely delayed this until he wanted everything to be revealed, and this is
Maybe.
when he wanted it to be out.
Now, people have said,
I think he could have solved that summer. This happened in 2022.
Even
He could have solved that all 22 summer, all that season. This could have been done.
Even if what Adam said is the way it happened, I'm with you in that it smells awful.
yeah.
It smells
And
absolutely.
the adjudicate. Here's the thing. People are like, well, I mean, he wouldn't have bought the team if he'd known this. Yes, he fucking
Yes,
would have.
yeah.
He's going to buy the team.
Yeah.
But if I were him, I would say, well, first round picks worth $20 million. So I'm knocking, I'll pay $80 million more, but I'm not paying $100 million.
So
this guy
I don't
is
know.
feeling like he just got fucked out of $20 million bucks.
So I don't know if it is that the price?
Well, what's a third rounder's worth $5?
Is that the price?
Why-
Isn't it?
So
Didn't we discuss this? Wasn't there like a Robin Leonard trade that set the bar on that?
Yeah, there was to put it plainly, I saw some people talk about the Sens Blackhawks punishment comparison, which I think we're going to get to. And well, what would you rather give up, money or a pick?
Money.
A pick is money, though.
Yes.
A pick is money. When you give up a draft pick, like even like late round picks are still worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of their value, like what they can bring to your team. I want to say Dom Decision's done write-ups on this. I think Cap Friendly has done things on this. Like if you're gonna the three-way trade between the Leafs, Blackhawks, and Golden Knights that allowed Vegas to get Robin Leonard, the Leafs got, I think it was a 4th round pick out of that, and they had to eat something like, it was millions of dollars.
Yes.
It was a lot of money.
And that's a 4th rounder.
Right. 1st round pick. I don't know if 20 is the number, but it's millions and millions.
Okay, then maybe it's 10. But even then,
by the
I'd be pissed.
valuation of a 1st round pick, there is an argument that what Ottawa was punished for this situation with Vegas and Ottawa was more than what Chicago got with the $2 million fine for the Kyle.
I don't think there's an argument. I think it's true.
Ottawa got.
How could you argue against that?
And it's not
you
so
go.
that Ottawa's punishment should be less. It's so that the Blackhawks should
Yes.
be raised.
Man,
So
the
I saw
Coyotes
that.
paid more for working out teenagers.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, and so I guess we're getting into it. Like just briefly, the argument that I understand is that the Senators screwed over 2 teams and also got an unfair competitive advantage.
And embarrassed the league. That was
And
a
embarrassed
key
the
thing.
league.
Yeah.
They got rid of a contract that they didn't want anymore that was going to cost them too much money. And it was an ill-gotten trade. It was a bad faith trade because they didn't give their trading partner all the information they needed. And if they had, they probably don't do the trade. Or at very least, they might not have done the trade. So they gave
Like
them
that 3rd round pick they got back might have been like a 4th or a 5th.
Or-
Yeah.
The trade
Exactly.
protection.
Which,
And-
if it's worth $4 million,
yeah. And even if that they do the trade, and let's say it's still the 3rd round pick and everything is the exact same, you're still screwing teams on the back end of the Ducks and the Vegas Golden Knights on
Right.
the previous deal.
So you're gaining a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And that's why you're docked picks and not money. The Blackhawks, it's argued what they did, their scandal, did not give them a competitive advantage, and that's why they were only fined money.
The idea is you don't find somebody for on ice things when it was an entirely off ice situation.
Well,
Is
was
how-
Pierre Dorian on the ice when he
Is
made
how
this
the
phone
league
call?
looks at it. No, but like,
but it did have on
yeah,
its consequences.
I
you
understand.
just said it was a competitive advantage on the ice.
Okay.
Like having a sexual assault case isn't a competitive advantage on the ice.
Well-
is the argument that the NHL makes in that they don't find them a draft pick.
And I think that argument is wrong.
Of
I
course.
agree.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody needs to. Do we even need to say that?
No.
Obviously, it's fucking wrong.
But like,
Yeah.
by
they should
from what
hurt
we
them.
know, about that case, it was brought to their attention after the Western Conference Final, and then they find out about it heading into the Stanley Cup Final. And what did Joel Quenneville say? Joel Quenneville said, we worked so hard to get to this point. We can't have this rocking the boat.
so that it is a competitive thing.
It's absolutely a competitive advantage. Also, if this story is out there, like Chicago, when they won in 2010, think of the like mini rebuilds on the fly that they had to do when they lose guys like Dustin Byfuglien and Chris Versteeg, and they had to sign all these players. What are the odds that they're able to do that at the efficiency that they were able to? They probably don't get cups in 2013 and 2015. So bullshit, they didn't get a competitive advantage.
Oh, totally.
So Sens fans, I was sort of playing devil's advocate in my head. I was going back and forth. Why did the Senators get this? Why did Chicago get that? Sens fans are absolutely right. Their punishment compared to the Blackhawks punishment is nonsense.
No, but the Sens punishment is correct. It's that the Blackhawks punishment should be raised.
Yes,
I agree.
Sens fans don't have a complaint in that saying, "Oh, we were punished too hard because look what the Blackhawks got." The Sens got what they deserve. The Blackhawks got too little and need to be raised up.
And I do find it funny that the Wirtz family, which used to essentially run the NHL, got a minimized thing, and Gary going, "Well, they were really angry at me." Well, boo-hoo, dude.
One person makes these decisions. It comes down to Gary Bettman to determine what he wants to hand out. That is how the rules are written.
And Jesse, who does he need on his side politically?
The owners that he likes.
Right. The owners that he likes. The owners on the executive council. The 8 teams that are in the executive council. Jeremy Jacobs, Flyers ownership, Chicago ownership. Don't tell me that teams on the outside don't get treated differently. They do.
Gary, you suck. You got me going to bat for the Sens.
I know. Now here's
what are you doing?
So Jesse, go to 1331. So that way we can, because I've got the that way you don't have to reload the thing. Have a listen to this. Claire Hanna asked a really good question here.
And with TSN, I have 2 questions as well. You mentioned you had 2 disturbing phone calls from the NHL with regards to the Shane Pinto situation. When were you aware that that was being investigated? Because reports are that it was earlier this summer.
Yes, it was, and we were not made aware. That's another troubling thing for me, whether it's the agent is supposed to or not.
Ends at 1438.
There's a lot behind the story. I don't want to tell too much, but the reality is that, we, at the time that I know I was made aware, I figured that we need to understand what the investigation is all about. Before, so I put a stop to it, to any negotiations when we find out, because it made no sense going forward until such time, and especially that I felt that there was some, we weren't getting all the truth, all the facts. Let's just say that, not truth. Let's say all the facts. Case in point, this had started a lot earlier. To me,
we can pause it there. To sum that up, this man spent almost $1 billion on this team, was not told about the ongoing Shane Pinto investigation that had already started before he had the chance to close on this, was also not told about was told it was not a big deal, the Dodonov situation. Was told it was, so when he says, I didn't get all the facts, sorry, he said, I didn't get the truth, sorry, I didn't get all the facts. So essentially, in a real estate purchase, they would, if you have a leaky basement and you don't disclose that, you can be sued.
Right.
For the damages to fix that. Now, do I think that Michael Andlauer is going to file a lawsuit against Gary Bettman in the NHL? I don't. But I don't think he's happy.
Oh, he's pissed.
Clear. Yeah, he's pissed off.
I guess you're finding out, and I think Michael Andlauer is finding out what it's like to deal with Gary Bettman. And I hope Marty Walsh is paying attention. Because the next CBA, get ready, pal.
Did you catch the stray that was in there?
What's that?
Where he talked about, I think what he was basically implying with the Shane Pinto thing is it would have been helpful if Shane Pinto's agent, who is Louis Gross, had perhaps pointed out, hey, this might be coming. That's a huge wrinkle.
Yep.
Louis Gross is a big agent in this league. He is
he's got Nylander.
Yeah, he's got lots of players. Oh my goodness. 3 guys with the Blues, 3 guys with the Pens, 3 guys with the Caps, 2 with the Blue Jackets, 2 with the Lightning, 2 with the Flyers.
But if you're Louis Gross and you don't have to, why would you?
So
you want to get that contract though.
Here's your first lesson there, Mike. And I know he's not new to this. I mean, he was partial owner of the Montreal Canadiens. Do not expect an NHL player agent to do right by you. They are there to do right by their player.
But who else knew about this?
Who?
The NHL head office.
Yeah.
Who he would expect to do right by him.
Yeah, they're the ones who were tipped off and are doing the investigation, not the agent. Like, the NHL was told by their betting partner that this was happening, and then they started doing their due diligence and looking into it. And at that point, they never thought, hey, let's tell the team who's negotiating with this player that this thing could be happening.
Or they thought, hey, let's tell them, wait a sec, why would we do that?
It's such a joke the way the NHL is run.
There's a couple more here. 18-14, if you can fast forward to that. It's only 30 seconds. I want you to end at 18:43. Here you go.
The timing, I think, when this happened, that this young man was under investigation, the organization should have been made aware. And with this whole, and I don't understand why it's taking so long, but maybe because the club was for sale and they didn't want to disrupt, so making sure the seller got the biggest price possible. I don't know.
Oh, it's right there.
I can't answer. You'd have to ask the NHL that question.
So it's one thing that we're speculating on it. Now some goofy podcast is,
Who do these guys know?
Yeah. What do they know? And like they're speculating on. He's speculating extraordinarily publicly that he got fucked for millions and millions of dollars for something the league was dishonest to him about. That's exactly what that clip was.
Now, Jesse, restart that clip because I think there's one little tidbit here that says, I think, a lot about the Golden Knights and Ducks position, and then we can wrap the press conference. 18:43 is where I want you to start.
Oh,
and
I can't answer. You'd have to
keep going.
ask the NHL that question.
Right. Yeah. Michael, question for you, Tim Baines, Post Media. I want to understand this. You said the NHL in a call with you said they were embarrassed. Two teams were embarrassed. Am I getting that part correct?
I think two teams wanted a pound of flesh, but the league by default got embarrassed through this process.
Pause.
So,
Two teams wanted their pound of flesh.
They're right.
They are right.
But
I just thought that shows you just how pissed they are. I think that's an important detail.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. It was millions of dollars, and like the PR win for Vegas can't be discounted. But the fact that the Ducks were also doing this, I think, is relevant. Like, yes, Vegas wanted their pound of flesh because they suffered a PR hit, but then they won the Stanley Cup. Like, as much as I think it is part of it for Vegas, I think it's guys, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it was the millions of dollars. I think that's what they're upset about.
Yeah, and that quotes for everything you outlined at the top of this, and that little the butterfly effect of how that trade works. And
it goes further than that.
Have happened.
It goes further than that. Like you wait till a deep dive.
Riley Grigg and Mark Kastick are now injured too. The Senators then lost the game last night.
Nightmare.
And the good news for Michael Andlauer is that he did sell his shares of the Canadiens, which were they basically 10% of the franchise for $250 million, which is the highest valuation for a franchise ever in NHL standards. That means that the Canadiens by this purchase are valued at $2.5 billion. Sportico and front office usually have the Rangers and Leafs somewhere in and around $2.4 billion. And I forget what Larry Tannenbaum got for his share of MLSE. 8?
8, yeah.
So, and I don't know where the Leafs fit into that, but clearly franchise values are on the rise.
Yeah, those things are like, this is the highest franchise valuation because franchise valuations aren't disclosed regularly. So we only know about these franchise valuations when sales happen. Right. So it's going to be until the next one comes up.
Yeah.
They continually go up, and this is the latest one. So of course it's going to be the highest one.
If you want to look at it this way, like Michael Andlauer paid $650 million for the Sens.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was
$900
million less $250 million that he got from money.
And here's what he wanted to pay: $550 million.
Well, yep.
Now, the last thing I want to show or I want to tell you, and this is a pretty wild statement to make, but it's true. The GM search in Ottawa includes a member of SDPN.
You know what? I've decided to take my hat out of the ring. I want to stay here and do shows.
Bruce Garriock put together a list of potential candidates for the GM search. Ryan Bowness, who was already with the Ottawa Senators, Matthew Darche, whose name keeps coming up, and he's the AGM in Tampa. Chiarelli has come up. He's with the Blues right now. John Ferguson Jr., there's another name. He's with the Coyotes right now. And under the two names to watch, Craig Oster of Newport Sports Management, who is a high-profile agent, and Alan Walsh of Octagon Hockey and SDPN.
It's actually, so after that report came out, you know what Alan said to me last night?
What?
Nothing, because I wouldn't even dream about asking him.
It's not a report. It's one guy making a list of guys.
But Bruce has been on it.
No, but he makes a list of a bunch of different guys in different categories. And Kent Hughes was a former agent. He was hired in Montreal, so he's like, who are some agents that might get the job?
Right.
Now, for what it's worth, and CJ, again, you have to listen to the Chris Johnson show. It's so good. You need to listen to it all the time, but you especially need to listen to it for this story. He was talking about Michael Andlauer being a part of the group in Montreal that hired Kent Hughes. So him hiring an agent for a managerial role, whether it's GM, assistant GM, or whatever, it would not be surprising at all. And CJ also mentioned, actually that was me. What CJ mentioned was guys who were runners-up in Montreal, including Matthew Darche.
Yeah.
Guys who were up for the job, they didn't quite get it. They're obviously people he likes. It's just they went with Kent Hughes as the number one option. And Habs fans, are you not happy with the job that he's done so far? Sure seems like it. I get sent that meme of him smoking a blunt enough. It's a great meme.
I think they're happy. Habs fans only send me pictures of Doug Gilmour in a Montreal jersey because they hate me. They're haters.
That's rude.
That's rude. But I want to say, Alan has been asked about this on the pod.
Yes.
And every time he has to answer the question, he's answered it multiple times. He has said, I would have a really hard time with that because he's a really player first guy. But, people always say that until the right opportunity comes along. And then they go, well, this is something I never thought I would do. Here's the thing, though, that doesn't make sense to me. For both agents, is, hey, man, do you want to work a lot more and make less money? Like, agents get paid a lot. They do well.
Would he be working more?
Well, maybe he wouldn't be working more.
I find that hard to believe.
Maybe he wouldn't be working more. Maybe he would, but you would be making less, especially the Ottawa GM job.
I think
like this is like, think about what an agent might make on a 1 or 2 or 3% commission with 12, 13, 14 players in the NHL.
I think Alan's name is going to come up more often after David Juracek signs his next deal.
maybe.
If he's smart.
Yeah.
And I think he is.
Matthew Darche, I think, is the front runner for the job right now. When Michael Andlauer owned the Hamilton Bulldogs, his captain on the 09-10 team.
Who was that?
Matthew Darche.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Sorry, the way you said that, I thought you were leading me into guessing who it was.
That's who I'm guessing.
Whoa.
Really?
That feels real then.
That's interesting.
The GM of the team that Matthew Darche captained, Julien Brisebois.
Oh.
Who is currently Matthew Darche's boss. Maybe the guy who was Julien Brisebois' boss when he owned the Hamilton Bulldogs makes a call to his former employee asking him, like, hey, can I talk to the assistant GM who was the captain of the team that I owned? I want to talk to him. I think he might be a good GM for Ottawa. There's a whole bunch of connections there.
75 people work in the NHL max. Like max.
they go on a carousel wheel like this, and they all rotate positions, and they all know each other.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's 8 guys.
Well, just wild.
Eight's
just
probably
wild.
closer than 75.
I think Jeff Merrick had that.
What? That there's
The Matthew Darche connection with Hamilton. There you go.
This is just bonkers. Of course, Merrick would have that. By the way.
It's a very
That's
Jeff
a
Merrick
Jeff
stat.
Merrick. Yeah, 100%. Quick thing on the San Jose Vancouver game.
Ooh.
I'm going to give you a couple numbers.
Okay.
10. It's the amount of goals that Vancouver scored against San Jose. 10 is also the number of goals San Jose has scored this year.
Oh my God. Mackenzie Blackwood has gotten 8 goals in support all season.
Here's another number for you guys. 6. What's 6? What do you guys think?
The number after it is 9.
No.
High five.
Well, there's also that. Hey. All right. What do you think? What's 6? Why is 6 relevant? Take a wild stab.
It's not the amount of wins they have or points in the standings.
Goals in the first?
That's a good guess. It's a really good guess.
Goals in the second.
Also a good guess. Also possible.
Yeah.
6.
We could both be right. Pretty close to it.
6 is the amount of 5-on-5 goals that Canucks scored last night.
Wow.
Also the amount of 5-on-5 goals the Sharks have scored this year.
Wow.
TSN asked the question, and I think it's worth repeating the question. Is this the worst team this century?
No.
What, like
Oh,
century as in since
2000?
2000? Oh, the Thrashers had some real bad teams.
2000.
They have, put it this way, it's not an immediate no. It's not an immediate
It can't be an immediate no. You can't. You haven't won yet.
The Capitals teams that tanked for Ovi, the Penguins teams that also did and ended up getting Crosby.
And Malkin. And
Malkin.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, fucking everybody. Those were really, 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 really bad teams. There was one Atlanta Thrashers team in particular that was disgraceful.
The 99-2000 Atlanta Thrashers went 14-57-7-4. They had 39 points.
Good Lord.
That's got to be.
I guess they
a bad
count. They
team.
count as this century or last century, because I feel like their season started in the last century.
99-2000. Yeah, I guess.
The Leafs, the year they finished last, had 30 more points than that team. Holy shit.
Yeah, man, the Penguins are bad for a long time, because they got Marc-Andre Fleury, Malkin, Crosby, and Letang in consecutive years,
Oh yeah.
and all in the top 5.
The lockout also helped.
Oh, right, because they won the lockout lottery.
Yeah, so like they didn't even need to be bad that year.
Who led the 99-2000 Atlanta Thrashers in goals?
Ray Ferraro.
I think it was Ray Ferraro.
Andrew Burnett.
Oh, Andrew
Man,
Burnett.
expansion king Andrew Burnett.
How
by the
many
way.
goals?
25.
22.
23.
Oh!
Andrew Burnett also led them in points. How many did he have?
He's like a 65-point guy.
52.
Adam?
I say 60.
So that's it's 50.
Oh my God.
Ray Ferraro was
Whoa.
second on the team with 44 points and 19 goals.
How many games?
81.
Oh, sorry, Ray. Tried to help you out there. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, 14 wins. But like, okay, so how many games have they played? 10? Mm-hmm. So now they need 14 wins in their next 72 games. Ugh.
Can they do it? That's roughly 2 wins every 10 games.
By the way, I figured out why I hated the Ducks so much at the beginning of this season.
What is it?
Because it was a little bit of recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
They finished the season last year, their final 13 games, 0-11-2.
Jesus.
They were shit. So maybe it shouldn't be surprising that they're pretty good right now because they have better players and they're actually trying.
Funny how that works.
So like that, you need to be about as bad as the Ducks were to end last season all year. All year. And I got to tell you, Leaf fans are not the only pessimists in this league.
Who else?
I have been watching Penguins fans scared to play the Sharks on Saturday.
They're right.
For over a week.
They're right. The Penguins, I don't think the Penguins are good, guys.
I honestly,
They're certainly not good yet.
honestly, no one's going to like to hear this. Penguins lose that game, I think Mike Sullivan might get gassed.
Oh, I don't think that's a hard one. I think that's a good take.
Now, here's what I was going to ask. It's super unfair to the guy, but when does David Quinn get gassed? At what point do you fire the coach because you got to do something? You just got to do
No idea.
something.
No.
I know he's not the reason they're losing, but
Yeah.
like
What do you want? Like
a watchable product.
That's not
poor
their goal.
Kid, that poor kid.
No, you can't.
Did you see
can't.
that kid? The kid who had the sign that said, "My first Sharks game."
No, I have
Oh,
no
yeah.
And you look down and the score bug says 8-0.
I didn't see that. No.
And it got worse. It got worse after that photo was taken.
Yeah, no,
I
you can't
tweeted-
fire David.
Yeah.
Quinn because
What does that serve?
it just makes a
Nothing,
bad
but,
situation
like-
worse.
Yeah. No, you're not gonna do that.
No, it's like why Dallas Eakins made it through the whole year with Anaheim, and they played an unstructured mess of a game.
Yeah.
last
You
year.
fire teams when the head coach is performing below expectations. This is
Still below expectations.
This is the expectation. Don't win a game.
Man, no, dude. The last place team, for the last like quarter century. Well, okay, maybe not quarter century. We just talked about the Thrashers. For the last like 15 years, has won like at least 20 games. How much? Can you look this up? How much did the would have been the 14-15 Sabres win? They were disgraceful, that team. They were going for
McDavid,
ended up with Eichel.
and they were really upset about it.
They were really upset about it publicly, which I'm sure Eichel loved.
They were 23-51-8.
That disgrace of a team won 23 games. What about the
New York Islanders of 2001? They are amongst the lowest teams ever in the last 20 years. They went 21-51-7-3 for 52 points.
Mike Milbury needs to be studied by science. Like that's
I don't know how you keep a job that long.
he was GM in the Island for so long.
Yeah.
And the damage was near irreparable.
Generational damage.
Generational damage.
Yeah. He
Decades to recover.
Yeah, I don't know how you. Although I guess I do, because all you need is the person above you to like you.
Why? If someone regularly lit my money on fire, I might not enjoy their presence.
I don't know. Sometimes people have so much money they don't necessarily look at it like that, right? It's like, I mean, you have to. The Islanders are like, I wish ESPN would do a 30 for 30 on the Islanders during that time, and it wasn't just him; it's Garth Snow as well, right? Like
He wasn't great either.
He was, yeah, and they had a great relationship with the owner, and the owner was loyal.
Scar Snow.
He's like a bad version of Jerry Buss.
Jerry
Buss was super, super loyal to his people. What was his name? Robert something, the owner of the Islanders at that time. Super loyal to his people. And they never performed.
If you want to see the most illegal goalie equipment that has ever existed, go just type in Garth Snow shoulder pads.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Who led the 14-15 Sabres in goals?
Matt Molson.
Oh, good guess.
And I think he had... I don't know why they signed him, or did they sign him the next year? No, they were bad, and they signed him from the Islanders, and it didn't make any sense.
P.A. Parento.
That's a good guess.
P.A. Parento.
Was he on the team?
No,
Aaron Ovechkin.
He wasn't on the team.
I thought he was.
Was Molson on the team?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Matt Molson. I didn't understand that signing.
Was Vanek on the team?
No.
He was traded the year before.
Like, it's a task that Adam was even able to name. Okposo.
Was not on the team yet. He didn't sign till last year.
Nikita Zadorov at 19 was on that team.
Oh,
Played 60
holy.
games. Yeah.
I thought you said
No.
Zadorov had 19 goals.
Naming somebody who didn't do it, but
I was like, geez, he should have won the North.
there's some names. I got to give it to you when we're done this. What's your guess, Steve? Just submit something.
I know, I can't think.
You're going to be wrong.
Ryan O'Reilly.
No, I don't even think he was on the team.
Son of a bitch.
The leading goal scorer of that team was Tyler Ennis.
Tyler Ennis.
Yeah, and he was also the leading point getter. Adam, your guess of Matt Molson, he had 13 goals. He was third place on the team.
He was nothing after he left Tavares.
Yeah.
No offense to Matt Molson, but man, what a bad contract.
Some of the names on the 14-15 Buffalo Sabres. Nikita Zadorov, as I mentioned.
Okay. Yeah.
Sam Reinhart, 19-year-old, played 9 games. Joel Armia, 21-year-old, played 1 game.
Wow.
Zegmis was their second leading goal scorer.
Zemgus Girgensons.
Yes. 15 goals. Brian Gionta, Chris Stewart, Marcus Foligno, Rasmus Ristolainen.
There's actually some guys who have had pretty good careers.
Tyler Myers, there's some actual
Was Evander Kane on that team, or was he already in Winnipeg?
No, he wasn't there yet.
Mark Pissick.
Or sorry, it was in Winnipeg.
He was in Winnipeg.
Mark Pissick.
Mark Pissick, who was an analytics darling.
When he played D.
Yeah, because he played both, didn't he?
Then he famously scored a hat trick against the Leafs when it was Florida made him a forward one game.
Nick Delorier.
Oh,
there's a collection.
He had a
of
good career.
I was shocked looking back. There's a collection of NHL players.
Hold on, Jesse, hide it from Steve. Let's see if Steve can guess 2 of the goaltenders that played that year.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chad Johnson. Because I remember there was a really awkward interview with TSN.
Why?
So they were talking about him on air because they had just acquired, I think it was Yaroslav Halak, who they then traded. But whatever it was, the goalie they had was not bad enough. So they...
Because they weren't losing enough games.
Yeah, they traded him. I think it was Halak. And they got Chad Johnson. They were talking about how bad he is. And then they brought him on air, and he heard it.
I hope that clip is still out there.
If I remember correctly.
Okay, what's your other guess?
Kind of awkward.
Chad Johnson.
Chad Johnson and...
Yaro Halak?
Yaro Halak, yeah.
For all that stuff you did about Chad Johnson, he didn't play for this team.
What? Different year. Who was it?
Are you serious?
Jonas Enroth.
Oh my God, former Leaf.
Michael Neuwirth.
Neuwirth, yes.
Anders Lindback.
Yeah.
Andre
Makarov?
Makarov and Matt Hackett.
I remember Matt Hackett.
Like, I don't
Man.
know. The Halak thing didn't happen. The Chad Johnson didn't happen this year. I assume you're just misremembering what year it happened.
Man, Jonas Enroth lasted like 6 games with the Leafs, and Babs like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I remember being excited about him being signed as a backup too. I guess I was wrong.
I'm like so mad.
Makarov played, what is it? It looks 1 game, 1 loss. And I thought the save percentage was perfect. He had 3 goals against not good.
I'm looking at Cody Hodgson's name there. That's a guy I always used to draft in like NHL 11.
Yeah.
He was such a solid game. He would absolutely always hit a 90.
Okay, so I was a year off with Chad Johnson, and I got his role wrong. He was actually the goalie they had to get rid of because he was too friggin' good.
Oh.
He played 45 games in 15-16, threw up a 920
Yeah, they wouldn't have liked that.
after an 889 in 19 games the season before.
Steve, I'm
Yeah.
going to say it. Your brain only works for Leafs things.
It must.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I still want to see that interview.
Did it happen?
One last thing before we go.
Do we know it happened?
We don't. Now we
No.
don't. Now I'm questioning everything. You're right, Jesse.
Fuck! Who am I thinking of?
By the way,
I'm pissed.
you got the Blink 182 tour thing. Remember that question you asked me the other day? They're like, what do you think it's called? And I said, I think it's called the We're Back Again, whatever. And you said, no, it's not. And somebody sent me a screen grab and they're like, actually, Adam, you were 100% right. The name of the tour, I nailed it.
No
and I
way.
Can't remember
Did they change
I
the
can't
name?
even remember what it was, but I nailed it.
Because I had the poster up.
Yeah. So the name of the tour was apparently exactly what I said it was,
Oh,
or
no
something
way.
close to it, which is hilarious. But every time I get something wrong, I'm like, I questioned everything because my brain doesn't work that way. So one last thing, though. Why
Why
before
did
we
you
wrap
bring
it
that
up?
up?
Yeah,
Because I was right once. God damn it. And I need you to fucking know it. All right?
What did that have to do?
No, hey, Steve, put
I have no idea what fucking
put it
trade
down.
I was
Put it
thinking
down.
of.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay, so Steve,
What was I thinking?
Steve, you and Jesse
Yeah.
are the GM and the AGM of a team.
Okay, I'm AGM.
And no, you're the GM. And
It's called the Rock Hard Tour, Adam.
no, there's another name for it. But anyway.
The World Tour 23-24, also known as the Rock Hard Tour. That's what I said on the show.
Okay, somebody sent me another thing then. And I was also right.
The band's ninth studio album is called One More Time. Maybe
Maybe that's what I got it.
I don't know.
Nah, I don't
Bring it back to the next episode.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Jesse,
full breakdown.
So you,
Blink.
Steve, you've identified an issue with your team. You're a GM. Jesse's your AGM. This is before he knifes you in the back and takes over.
We're 2 hours in.
I know. I don't care. This
Oh
is
my
worth
God.
it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
No,
it's worth it.
this is-
It's
No.
worth it.
We need to.
So so you identify
things to do.
You identify that your team needs a goalie that can handle the puck.
Oh, I'm going
Okay.
to get Chad Johnson.
Who's the goalie that scares you the most that Jesse could bring up to you as the, oh my God, please don't handle the puck?
Probably Jake Markstrom.
Okay. And that brings me to the Stars and Flames. I'm not sure if you saw this, but the
Oh.
Flames were on the power play and they were up 1-0.
Oh.
Jesse, I got the highlights for you. It goes right to the clip. We're going to actually have to pause it, but I just want to show you what happens here because I felt like you missed it. Have you seen this?
I bet I know.
So remember, the Flames are scoring and winning in this game, and they're on the power play.
Oh my God, Jake!
Okay. So
We gotta get the part where he's out of the net.
So it is 210 start at 210 or 208. That's fine. And then we're just gonna go freeze frame to freeze frame here.
Yeah.
Look at this.
This?
Here you go. Okay, now go forward a couple seconds, Jesse, if you can. Go forward a couple seconds. Oh, what happened? What happened? Well, see, Markstrom was gonna make a play. The defenseman lets up, and then Markstrom lets up, lets the Dallas player get it, and then go forward a couple more seconds, Jesse, if you can. Look at that. Oh, puck's in the net.
And like, goalies get mad because, like, again, his D-man was going to get beaten to the puck.
Yeah.
But my argument is, yeah, okay, fine.
But you got out of the net.
At least you'll be in the net. And like, I don't know, if he's going to take a shot from a shitty angle while you have a man back, what's the big deal?
What's he saving there, by the way? Like, so
Ask Peter
he makes
Mrazek.
the step out, he backs off, and now he and his defenseman have backed off the puck, and then he goes down, and he's not defending anything.
No, that's just the way he's pushing back into the net, right? He's not trying to make a butterfly save against nobody.
He has to be stopped. He's got to be
gotta
stopped.
stop.
Yeah, it's bad.
And by the way, the Dallas Stars won the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
We didn't even get to this.
and
'cause
a minute left.
We're 2 hours in, but the Alberta teams lost both of them last night.
Yeah, Evander Kane said too many boo-boos. And I think that's kind of perfect for their seasons, both.
Yeah.
And by the way, Connor Brown injured a game before he was due for a $3 million bonus. I hope he's okay.
Is he gonna? He's gonna get waived today, right? Because
Apparently
if
he's
he
going
hits, so that's so weird that
it-
they would
I
do
don't.
this.
I don't know if he would be able to.
Now that he's injured, I don't think he can. But
No,
he-
but
he
they
has
would
to play
waive
the game.
him before they would bring him back for that 10th game. Because
think so.
the cap hit will count against next season because
Yeah.
it's a signing bonus. So like Ken Holland just has to sit there in his own shit or waive Connor Brown.
And Jesse, if they do bring him back and he plays, that means that whatever the cap goes up next year, the Oilers don't get it.
Yeah, it's already gone.
Now-
it's $3 million next season.
Really interesting wrinkle here. So if they waive him before his bonus hits,
Yeah.
you would probably qualify that as them fucking the player.
Oh, 100%.
No, I would say that's under their like. I wouldn't say it's like
They
overt,
signed him,
like
though.
it's not against any rule.
It's not against. No, of course not.
Yeah.
It's not against any rules, but it's a bit greasy, right? Hey, we're gonna do this deal, and the game before your bonus kicks in, we're gonna shiv you.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the agent who signed that deal for him?
I don't know.
Jeff Jackson, who now works for the Oilers.
Oh, yes, that's true.
There's a fun little wrinkle.
Interesting. Let's hit the extra. We'll get out of here. Sorry it was such a long
the
show.
stream.
Oh, yeah, you had the stream Saturday
I'm
night.
doing a stream. Are we gonna put a link in the description?
Sure.
We can, yeah.
Yeah.
I am going to do a sidecast streaming the Leaf Sabres game on Sports Interactions, the locker room page. It'll be available worldwide. We won't have the game, but you'll have me, and I think that's enough.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.